32 seconds. 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz at 2 kilohertz per second.
Ezekiel 25:17. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon you.
Only a Carpathian would come back to life now and choose New York. Tasty pick. Bonehead.
We were every bit the force. We live, we breathe, we sweat, we paid the price to be the best. Never been about the boys in the office. The boys that have gone out there night in and night out, doing everything they could to be the very best at what they chose to do in their life. Those boys are here tonight.
Well, I must have been away too long because my feelings are dead. I feel no remorse.
I only am who I am because I was born that way. I have a gift, and I am trying to not be selfish about it, but to use it.
My job consists of basically masking my contempt for the assholes in charge. And at least once a day, retiring to the men's room so I can jerk off while I fantasize about a life that doesn't so closely resemble hell.
It's my house, and if you don't like it, get the fuck out.
Grab a dog. I choke him, and I kick the shit out of him. And I all day long, I put up a dog's ass. Just bang, bang, bang up his ass. That's my pleasure.
Go back to bed, America. Your government has figured out how it all transpired. Go back to bed, America. Your government is in control again. Here you go, America. You are free to do as we tell you. You are free to do as we tell you. You are free to do as we tell you.
Sometimes shit happens. Someone has to deal with it. And who are you going to call?
Oh, you guys like to tell jokes and giggle and kid around, huh? Giggling like a bunch of young broads in a school. Well, let me tell a joke.
And boom goes the dynamite.
On the outskirts of the farm, power lines have Buddies, it's the Ron and Fez show. I'm Ron, there's Fez.
Hiya, buddies.
Earl tying the morning music in with the fact that REM has already said there's rumors, I guess, right, Earl? Is that it?
Yes, there's rumors that the original lineup's going to get back together.
Because the thing that's been holding them back the last couple of years is not having the drummer.
Bill Berry has won Rockstar REM and will be the new drummer for the band once again.
No, ever know when Fez will jump into a music conversation, it's only about two groups, REM and Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Best ever!
Yeah, I know that's your all-time favorite. REM was a really big band, and it seems like they don't have that same it thing attached to them anymore. It's like, like U2 goes on and they're still U2. REM and U2 were kind of almost nose to nose. I mean, U2 was bigger, but REM was considered a big band, and now it's like, you're playing the Crown Lounge.
U2 is still getting records played, songs played off their albums. I never hear anything like off of a new REM CD.
Big REM problem is losing the hair. Don't lose the hair if you want to be a rock star. Ask Peter Gabriel. Maybe if you start without hair, not a bad deal. But you don't want to be known for your locks and then have nothing.
Somehow, Michael Stipe was able to lose hair and lose weight all at the same time.
For years, I thought he was sick. I go, well, I don't know whether it's cancer or what's going on. It's a little nerve-wracking. Dave, you're on Ron and Fez. How are you, pal?
Good afternoon, buddies.
Hey, buddy boy.
Hey, listen, Earl, first of all, hats off. It's a fantastic choice for an REM song.
You did it again, Earl. I don't know how you do it.
He's a fucking winner.
Yeah, he is.
Fezzy, your favorite REM album and song, please.
All right, my favorite REM album, Automatic for the People, and off that album, Everybody Hurts. It's one of my favorite songs.
Well, aren't you top 40? It's really nice for you to go along like all the other girls your age.
I could really relate to it.
REM was kind of lucky in that way that they were one of those bands that they had, like, cool albums at first that nobody was into, and then they got popular, but they still had the 3 or 4 cool albums before that, rather than get popular right away with your cool album.
They had that Monster one where they tried to go grungy, I think. I don't even know if that was, like, on purpose or...
This is a problem when we let Fez into the music talk. And now, suddenly, it went from he had a couple moments until he used the term grungy, and you feel like you're in a conversation with your mom.
The funny part is, that's my favorite REM album, Martha.
That's my least favorite.
Yeah, I know, Grandma.
It was just a big, loud, noisy record. I love that album.
Why don't they play something a little slower that the old folks can dance to?
That I like.
Yeah. Here is Northside. Northside, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, what's up, guys? I just wanted to see how Fezzy did on Lock of the Week.
Fezzy's Lock of the Week
did not come in. I picked Florida, giving up 3.5 points on the road to Tennessee. Florida won the game, but by only 1 point.
What? Couldn't you see that one coming a mile away? A mile away, I saw that one. You're 0 for 2. And you're useless to us again this year.
Usually I don't start out the season this way. I don't know where the glitch is. What's gone wrong?
This is exactly you. It's incredible how bad you can pick. JG, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Hey, boys. Good morning.
Hey, buddy boy.
Hey, Fez, the Buccaneers have a really good offense this year.
Yeah, Buccaneers, really no touchdowns at all, Fez.
No, so far I think 6 interceptions. They've got more interceptions than actual points now at this point.
They got 3 points. They have not scored a touchdown since Angelina was born. There is a jinx, baby, and nobody can do anything about it.
Great.
Your season's over with them, Fez. You have nothing to look forward to.
Oh, no, not whatsoever. There's nothing there, and there's nothing to build on. Chris Sims is not going to get any better. There was no positives in that hideous game against the Falcons yesterday to look at.
You're looking at 7-10 years rebuilding. I will say this. My new guy that I look to, that seems like he's the man with the plan, I can't believe I'm saying this, Eastside Dave. Giants getting crushed yesterday by the Eagles. We're at Hooters. Eastside Dave will not give up on his team, and at a certain point actually says, and we're in the fourth quarter, and they're down by like 17. I'm guaranteeing a Giants victory.
It's Giants pride, and it's Giants tradition, and that means...
Thanks, Mr. Cliche. I was worried that you would have something new to add.
And that means never quit and never surrender, baby.
And never say goodbye, like you tend to say over there.
A fellow Jersey boy, Bruce Springsteen, says it best when he says, "We'll never surrender, ever," or something to that.
I have no idea.
There's some kind of song along those lines, and I thought it applied to the Giants last night.
Why was it Born to Run, and you just get out of here? Why can't that be the Springsteen song that you love?
Big Blue Machine is back.
I'll tell you right now, Eli Manning looks like $1 million. $1 million this kid is.
He's thrown only 2 picks in both games, and each one was not his fault. It was off the hands of other people. He is maybe the best quarterback in football.
Oh, that's far from... He's not even the best quarterback in his family. There's better quarterbacks in his family, and that's awful.
2.
That's true. His mom, and I even think his mom's pretty decent.
370 yards, Mr. B, 3 touchdowns, and that throw at the end to Plaxico Burress. I was weeping a little bit.
Yeah, well, you should have been. I'm trying to give you props, as the youngsters put it, because you were right now. You've taken it over the top, but you did not give up on your team. They're in somebody else's house. They're in Philly. Not an easy place to play. They come back big, and he doesn't let go. You may be next week's Lock of the Week winner.
Thank you very much.
I can't go with you this year, Fez.
I'm gonna get hot. I just need to get warmed up this season.
You know what? Sell your papers walking, because I don't have time for it. I put down 2 bets because I hear Lock of the Week. You know what that means? Not maybe, not a good chance, not 80%. Lock. Done deal. Treat it like it's history.
Yeah, I don't know what could have gone wrong.
You're the jinx that's gone wrong for us. Here's Eric. You're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, I just wanted to thank Fezzy for that wonderful University of Michigan victory this weekend. Go Blue.
Yeah, where was Notre Dame? And that's your other. So you spend a Saturday in a bar watching Notre Dame get destroyed, a Sunday in a bar watching the Bucks get destroyed.
Yeah, just destruction weekend for me. Yeah, Notre Dame, I think, was favored by 6 in that one. They were at home against Michigan, and I think Notre Dame actually ended up getting beat by Michigan worse than Notre Dame beat Penn State the week before in the rout.
Jeff, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, the Buccaneers can take Brett Favre off our hands, and we'll take a couple offensive linemen from him.
I'd actually make that trade anytime, Fez.
I would do that. I would find any old quarterback there is, anyone whatsoever, to replace Chris Sims. Here's what's going to happen in Tampa Bay. They're going to fake a Chris Sims injury. They're going to go with that rookie backup, Gronkowski, and everyone's going to act like it's not their fault.
Here's Rob. Rob, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Hey there, Ron.
Yeah, how are you?
Hey, man, after listening to Fez talk about his Lock of the Week and all of his musical knowledge, it occurs to me he really has no knowledge on any subject at all.
Rob.
Seriously, Fez, is there any subject that you could be the go-to guy for the show?
I think like television. I could talk about like old TV shows.
Thanks, Blowhard. What else do you have for us?
Comic books. Gee, I'm trying to think. Batman?
Your comic book thing doesn't seem to go out of Batman and Superman.
Right.
You don't seem to know all the other stuff that the folks are into.
Wrestling?
Wrestling, you never bring it up.
Yeah. Because I know more old school wrestling, really. So,
this is even awkward. Right now, in this conversation, there's an awkward feeling to it. Hey, Mikey, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, what's up, buddies?
Yeah.
I want to suck Doc Bailey's cock.
Okay. A little later on in the show. Here's David. David, you're on Ron and Fez. How you doing, David?
Hey, how's it going, Ron?
Yeah.
Hey, Fez, I wonder if you wanted Chris Gamble from the Panthers. You can take him to the Bucks. We'll take somebody for that guy.
The Panthers, some people's picks for the Super Bowl, they're 0-2.
0-2 there. Detroit was supposed to have a turnaround year. They're 0-2.
Washington's 0-2.
That was supposed to be their season. You can't gamble in this sport. The sport cannot be gambled on.
Miami's 0-2.
Miami, Jay Moore had them going all the way to the Super Bowl. Nothing, Jay. Nothing. 0-2.
It's like Bizarro World with these predictions. These teams are now at the bottom of their divisions. They all stink.
866 Ron Zero Fez. 866 Ron Zero Fez. Coming up in just a little bit. Christine Vachon of Killer Films, the producer of so many fantastic films, Fezzy.
Yeah, producer of Kids, I Shot Andy Warhol, Hedwig and the Angry Inch, Boys Don't Cry, that got Hilary Swank an Oscar.
Out of the last 10 years or so, these are some of the, if not the best, films that we've had out there. She's coming by to talk about her new book.
She's got a book out, A Killer Life, it's called, How an Independent Film Producer Survives Deals and Disasters in Hollywood and Beyond. And then she'll be doing a book signing in New York later on tonight, 7 p.m. at the Barnes & Noble on 6th Avenue.
Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, she will be there doing a reading and a signing.
I would love to do a signing of books. I don't want to write a book, but I would love to sign a book and tell people that I wrote it.
Well, maybe you can just sign other people's books.
Is that as good, though?
No, not really.
Because I also want them to say, this changed my life, this was a wonderful book.
Oh, yeah, where they just carry it with them, always, and they refer to it.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that it's tattered and it's like a little weather-beaten. And I'm like, one of my early books. I'm like, oh, you still have this old thing. And then when I signed it, I write something fantastic in it. Something that maybe their eyes start to tear up as they leave.
And then years from now, they tell some young person who's confused and lost in the world, here's a book you need to read.
Yeah. Let me...
the Ron Bennington book.
Yeah, let me give you a quote here. Something a wise man once said. But I don't see it happening. I don't see me getting over that big. All right, we got the transition music, Dave?
To be free, one must give up a little part of oneself.
Go!
My sex change operation got botched. My guardian angel fell asleep on the watch. Now all I've got is a Bobby doll crotch. I've got an angry inch. Sex is fun, 5 inches back. I got an angry inch. Sex is fun, 5 inches back. I got an angry inch. I'm from the land where you still hear the cries. I have to get out to several times. I changed my name and assumed a disguise. I got an angry inch. 6 inches forward, 5 inches back. I got an angry inch. 6 inches forward, 5 inches back. I got an angry inch. 6 inches forward, 5 inches back. The train is coming and I'm tied to the track. I try to get on, but I can't get no back. My tits out of clay. My boyfriend told me that he'd take me away. They dragged me to the doctor one day. I got an angry 6 inches forward, 5 inches back. I got 6 inches forward, 5 inches back. Yeah, long story short. When I woke up from the operation, I was bleeding down there. I was bleeding from the gash between my legs. It was my first day as a woman. Already that time of the month. 2 days later, the hole closed up. The wound healed and I was left with a 1-inch mound of flesh. Oh, where my penis used to be, where my vagina never was. It was a 1-inch mound of flesh. With the scar running down it like a sideways grimace on an eyelash face. It was just a little buzz. They wanted that angry 6 inches forward, 5 inches back. The train is coming.
Christine Vachon is here with us, Killer Films, and a brand new book out.
Killer Life, How an Independent Film Producer Survives Deals and Disasters in Hollywood and Beyond.
Christine, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I was saying as you came in, I'm just such a big fan of the films that you do. For me right now, that's the thing with Killer Films. It used to be like when I got into certain jazz things, I would look for a Blue Note album, even if I wasn't familiar with what the artist was. And I think you guys, over the last 10 years, when you start to go over these films, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable what you put together.
Well, thank you. You know, it's been a great 10 years for us, very prolific.
Is that somewhat get intimidating at this point when you look back? And I mean, really, when we start, Fez read off the films a little while ago. When you start to look at that, that could be the AFI's lifetime salute when you're 80 years old. Most people don't have those kind of great films behind them.
Well, it's not intimidating so much as it is when I look at the list, it's exhausting.
Right.
But, it's hard. We want to keep up the same level of quality and keep working with these great directors.
And your films are coming a lot faster than they used to, right? You're doing more films, I think, than in the past.
That's true. We are doing more films, too. But, we try to keep it not... we want to keep doing them well. Mm-hmm. So we try not to do too many at the same time. But films are kind of like babies, like they come when they want to.
Right.
So if they are all like rushing towards life at a certain time and it happens to be at the same time, there's nothing you can do about it.
How do you know when, I guess people send you scripts, but how do you know when it's a script that you should be involved in? What exactly happens there?
People send us scripts. Also, a lot of directors bring us scripts that they want to direct themselves. Mm-hmm. So it's a combination. Part of it is some kind of zing, that there's something about that script that is so original, mm-hmm. that it's provocative, but not in the prurient sense of the word, not just controversial to be controversial, but that it really tells a story I haven't seen before.
Do you sometimes even look at other people's films and say, boy, if we only got a hold of that, we'd do it, we'd make a couple of changes? Because it does seem like sometimes you look at films and you could see that they kind of tried to mass appeal the ending or softened it up a little bit, where I don't think anybody can accuse you guys of doing that.
No, probably they can accuse us of the other thing. Of course, I like to think that, I'm insanely biased, and I think every movie we've ever produced is, a work of genius. Mm-hmm. But yeah, sometimes I see movies and I think, if only, if they hadn't taken that path.
Right. And you see that all the time. It seems like that there are certain films that they could stick with, but what happens with a Hollywood film that's different from what you guys? What do you guys bring in that's unique that in the independent world that you don't get out of the studio system?
Well, I should just say, I do think now, in terms of making the delineation between independent and Hollywood, it's so blurred.
Right.
The money's coming from all over the place from my movies too, and I just feel like you can't draw that same line in the sand. Mm-hmm. What really makes these movies different, my movies different, I think, is simply that they're not made by committee. They are the articulation of a very singular artistic vision, by a director that, has a hand in the complete and utter, the whole creation of his or her movie. It's not a bunch of people sitting around wondering what, 20 to 25-year-olds are going to want.
So that's where you think Hollywood does that all the time, because it's so expensive. You've got to go, what can we do to get the most asses in the seats? We know that they like X, X, and X. Let's give them everything that's in there.
But I also think, look, right now, for example, Little Miss Sunshine's doing really well.
Right.
I think it's a great movie. And it's being distributed by Fox Searchlight, which is 20th Century Fox.
Right. But isn't there a thing where now it's like those films are a little more independent of the studio system? Like the studio system has gone, look, what these people do shows that there's an audience for it, so let's throw some money at them. Let's say like a Wes Anderson, who I'm not sure, he falls into the same type of thing where he's taking studio money. Mm-hmm. But it seems like he's left alone a lot more than most directors are, or is that just me imagining that?
I'm not really that. I don't know him well enough to know the answer to that question. But I would say, from where I'm sitting, I would agree with you. I mean, I feel part of the deal you make is if you can get movie stars in your movies,
right.
you start out with a script that's, original, provocative, risky. If you can bring in the right level of talent, then, you're offsetting the risk and making it a little bit more palatable for somebody who might be nervous.
Well, I guess even before we had independent films, Woody Allen, I think they would give him, like, whatever the budget was, get us some stars, everybody would work cheap for him, and then he would be left alone to do whatever. And he had a nice long run before he ever had to worry about money. There must have been like 20, 25 years where it seemed like he was left alone to do whatever he wanted to do. But I guess the thing there is you got to keep it within budget, right? You can't...
Right.
Yeah.
Or you got to make it for the money that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's... and Boys Don't Cry is a good example of that, because that movie made sense at the budget we made it to use an unknown in the lead. And if it had cost more money, we would have really been pushed to use somebody that, audiences were familiar with.
And that's already kind of forgotten because she's become a real movie star since then.
Right.
But I remember hearing that was coming out. I'm like, Hilary Swank, because all I knew was the Karate Kid 2 or 3 or whatever she happened to do. I don't, in a casting point of view, I think that would have been most people's least attempt. How did you know that she was going to be able to hit the ball out for you?
Well, in some ways, the way for Boys Don't Cry to work as a film was for you, as an audience member, when Brandon walks onto the screen, you don't want to know anything about him.
Right.
You don't want to think to yourself, oh, that's Drew Barrymore looking awful cute and jeans and a T-shirt. You want to think like the people in the town, who the hell is this guy? So that was really a calculation on all of our parts artistically. We really felt it was incredibly important to have somebody that nobody knew.
And the studio can't risk that. I mean, that's going to be somebody's job that's making a lot of money for themselves. They go, hey, if we do this for the film, I'll be held responsible for it.
It's a big risk.
Yeah. Christine Vachon is in with us. Killer Films and now another new book.
Killer Life, and that is in bookstores everywhere. And Christine will actually be doing a reading and signing tonight in New York at 7 p.m. That's at the Barnes & Noble, 675 6th Avenue.
Now, Christine, when I'm reading the book, and this is the second book I've read that you put out, are you worried? Because some of the stories that you tell in there, it seems like there could be some bridges burned. The Weinsteins take a shot here and there, and a couple of actors that backed out at the last minute, even actors that you're using now that backed out. And do you ever worry about people getting their feelings hurt? Or
I tried really hard in the book to be as honest as possible, but not to ever be unfair. Mm-hmm. And I felt like if I presented my side of the story, I tried very hard to indicate that, everyone knows every story has two sides.
Right.
So I'm not really worried. I mean, I guess the proof will be, who's not, speaking to me anymore.
Well, I brought up Harvey there. I went and saw him talk not too long ago. And the Weinstein Company, I have the feeling is going to be very different than we thought about. Miramax, the people that love movies back in the early 90s, that was a real beacon for getting things started. It seems like his new company is going to be a lot more mainstream, but he got into this hook on stage where why the director? Who says the director should have ever become the most important thing? Why not the producers? Why not the studios? Why not the writers? And it seems like your work is geared towards making sure that single voice of the director is heard.
Absolutely. But for me, it's also like when you were, to go back what you were just saying about Woody Allen and Wes Anderson, what's the point of interfering with the way those guys make movies? Because then it isn't a Woody Allen movie anymore.
Right.
And then it isn't a Wes Anderson movie anymore. And then the people who want to see those guys' movies aren't going to get to see. I mean, that's the thing. It's like if you mess with it, that doesn't mean you can't disagree with a director. And I certainly disagree with directors on a regular basis. But ultimately, if I really mess up the absolute foundation of how they're trying to make their films, then there's no point.
So it's more of just tweaking them to try to pull them back in or keep them under budget, or?
I mean, most of the directors we work with don't want to be in a vacuum. I mean, they want to work with people who, tell them when they think what they're doing is working and when they think it isn't. So there's, obviously we have a lot of discussions on casting, and then a lot of, discussions about the right creative team, cinematographer, production designer, etc. But, budget's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Especially, I guess, since you use so many first-time directors, right?
Right.
Like Todd Haynes, I guess your relationship with him must have changed between what it is now to where his first time going through some of this stuff.
Yeah, but his first time was my first time.
Is that right?
So it wasn't like I could stand there on my, mountain of experience.
Now, how did you hook up with him? Because he is now being seen as, I guess genius would be the word to use. I mean, there's enough of a track record there. It's always different. It's always really weird. But how did you two first hook up?
Well, we went to the same college, to Brown University. But really what happened is Todd and I started working together at a small production company called Apparatus Productions in the mid-'80s. And Todd made this remarkable movie that I'm sure you guys have seen or heard of, which was called Superstar, the Karen Carpenter story.
I have seen it.
It's banned, and, it's basically unavailable legally.
Right.
And when I saw that movie, I just thought, this guy has got it going on. I mean, it just was so interesting, and it was used Barbie dolls to tell the story of Karen Carpenter, which sounds like a fantastic joke, but then the movie makes you cry.
It actually starts as a joke, and there are only Barbie dolls that he's using, and then you're like, oh, it's a parody of, a Lifetime movie type thing,
right.
Which in a way I guess it is. But as you're watching this, at a certain point, I remember thinking, I'm saying back to the screen, it's your family that's got this. You start to get, and I'm yelling at the mother Barbie doll. It really is a bizarre thing, and he gets these performances out of Barbie dolls.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just amazing. The new film that you're doing with him is the Dylan film, and you're already getting a lot of press on that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What's the name of that?
It's called I'm Not There.
Mm-hmm. And it's filming now as we speak?
It's filming now as we speak in Montreal.
Bob Dylan is a co-worker of ours. He has a show here.
That's right.
At XM. We see him in the cafeteria. He's always sitting with the art crowd, so he doesn't really hang out. It's that crowd we make fun of, but we really wish we were hanging with them.
Yeah, doesn't eat much. Usually just a cup of coffee.
But it's kind of surprising that he would turn over his work to you guys, because he's somewhat known as a guy who stays with his own stuff.
I mean, I think that Todd's idea was so, such a different approach,
mm-hmm.
and such a inventive approach that's what. I've never actually conversed with him about it. I've never met him.
He's just turned over the songs, or?
Yeah, we have the rights to the songs and his life rights.
It's unbelievable. And you've got 6 or 7 people playing Dylan at different times, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, really, nobody's named Bob.
Right.
But what it really is the thing that fascinated Todd the most about Dylan's career was this whole notion that he could completely and utterly change his identity and get rid of the old one.
Right.
To the point where the people who were still, worshiping the old one, he was just forget it. That's over. This is the new thing. And he was a real shapeshifter, as, it says in Scorsese's documentary.
And the interesting thing, too, is Dylan, other people picked that up later. Bowie did it and Madonna did it, but they seem like they did it on purpose. Where Dylan is, it seems like he doesn't give it much thought.
Right, I agree.
About who he is or what he's doing next. He just seems to follow this path. And at certain times of his life, people will decide he's totally unhip, and at other parts of his life, I mean, he just had the #1 album a week or two ago.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That he's having this incredible moment again.
Yeah. And again, this is a film that if you heard about it from anyone else, you'd be like, this doesn't seem like something I'd want to see. It's crazy and reckless. Why show up for it? But now with you guys, I feel like there's a track record. People should just go. Give it a shot.
It is going to be a blast.
Yeah.
It's great performances from Richard Gere and Kate Blanchett, and right now Heath Ledger is on our set. And
the Kate Blanchett pictures got all over the newspapers, and she looks just like 1966 Bob Dylan.
Yup.
The other film that you've got coming out is the Truman Capote.
Yes,
film.
Infamous.
Infamous, and that starts when?
October 13th, New York, L.A., and then the following week it'll spread out.
Now, this is a film that also has got a really good buzz on it, and one of the things that I read that people said is it could show that two people playing the same character back-to-back could both get Oscar nominations.
Well, that would be great.
But, you would normally think day late, dollar short. How are you feeling about this one?
I mean, it's a tough one because I know how good our movie is. And I guess on the positive side, it's amazing that Warner Brothers let us go ahead with it.
Right.
After the other one had just started production. So that's my trying to keep positive side. On the other hand, I'm just like, oh God, what a thing to happen.
You had to be kicking like shit. I can't believe this.
Pretty much.
You've happened to you on the other side of this before too, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, Boys Don't Cry. We effectively scuttled 2 other projects.
Well, everybody going for it because they pick up different pieces, or how does everybody get the rights at the same time?
Well, in the Capote case, we acquired the rights to George Plimpton's biography of Capote. And the other project got the rights to the Gerald Clark biography of Capote. So in Capote's case, there's probably even a third or fourth biography or at a different time. You know what I mean? I think there's enough to go around. In the Boys Don't Cry case, it got trickier because these were life rights. And people, it's like, could you get into the story by getting the life rights from this one?
I see.
Also, it was a crime, so it was a matter of public record.
Newspaper, magazines,
newspapers, court transcripts, everyone has access to those.
And is this something that when you look at it, you go, I've read the article, this would be something cool to get involved in, let's find a writer, or somebody else, wrote the script and came to you guys?
In which one? In Boys Don't Cry?
Yeah, Boys Don't Cry.
Boys Don't Cry, Kimberly Pierce brought us the idea and the first draft of a script she had written that ended up changing quite a bit. But it was really her passion for the story and for what she thought it could be that got us into it.
Now, the Plimpton book, which I always thought was a great book, told in that kind of flashback style of people around them, are you going to use some of that type of thing? I had read before that there was some interviews done. Is that going to be in the film with, real people? Or
not with real people, but yes, the film does use a device of using, people commenting on the character, sort of in the spirit of the Plimpton book.
It could be interesting though, because I know sometimes I'll just get into a kick. Like if I read Vonnegut and I'm like, I love this book, I'll go back and read a bunch of them. There may be a market for Capote because young people don't really remember him, and even people, entering middle age remember him at a time that wasn't his strength. He would do Merv Griffin
and Dick Cavett.
And he'd be like a crazy old pill-head drunk, and you didn't really get the full, him at his best. It was the same way with Orson Welles would be. I never knew until years later that the guy was, a genius filmmaker. Just knew him as a guy doing bad magic on Merv Griffin show.
Or the wine commercials.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about those. What was that wine?
Paul Merson or something like that?
It was Gallo.
Gallo?
Yeah. We serve no wine before it's time.
That's it.
Yeah. And we're like, we drink that out in the parking lot after school. It's not all that great.
It was never the same when they went to John Houseman.
Yeah, that's true. Christine Vachon in studio with us, Killer Films, and this is her second book out now.
A Killer Life, How an Independent Film Producer Survives Deals and Disasters in Hollywood and Beyond. Christine's going to be at the Barnes & Noble on 6th Avenue in New York City tonight doing a reading and signing. That all starts at 7 o'clock.
Now, another thing that I know that you guys, I guess you've already shot it, is the Rufus Wainwright, where it was right up the street here that he shot at Carnegie Hall. I'm a big Rufus Wainwright fan. I have one of those things where I'm like, I'd love for him to become mainstream, because I think by far he's the best singer-songwriter that we have. And yet, I don't know whether him doing Judy Garland Song for Song is going to have, Kansas and Iowa embrace them. Did you go out and see the show?
Oh, yeah.
Was it amazing?
Yeah, the show really was amazing. I mean, in some ways, you're right. Like, the whole idea is almost so camp, it's beyond camp.
Right.
But when you actually saw it, it made sense.
Yeah. And he did it just song for song all the way through.
Song for song, but, not in drag.
Right.
Just like, straight, so to speak.
Right.
And, his voice isn't anything like hers. But it was a kind of extraordinary celebration of those songs. And also, one thing that Rufus said was that the singing that set of songs was almost the vocal equivalent of like running a triathlon. I mean, the range and the amount, it was so intense, and that she could do it in her condition.
Right.
And like get through that evening with flying colors is unbelievable.
And again, she's another one of those people like Capote where suddenly people think about him one way because of, after what came through, but she was, the giant.
Absolutely.
Of her day. What else are you guys working on?
Well, let's see. We're currently shooting a film that Helen Hunt is directing in New York City.
Her first film directing?
Her first film directing, yes. It's her directorial debut.
Yeah, that's what they said.
And it's a romantic comedy. I know we're not known for romantic comedies, so, it's a romantic comedy killer style. We finished shooting a film in Los Angeles in June called An American Crime, which is about a terrible crime that happened in the 60s in Indiana. It stars Catherine Keener and Ellen Page, directed by Tommy O'Haver, who did Billy's Hollywood Screen Kiss. So we have a number of things in the works.
And you're always working as, I guess, stuff is being developed all the time now, too? It's just a constant grind. Reading your book, it doesn't look all that fun to be a producer. It just, it comes off looking like you spend a real big part of your life fighting. Just fighting for money, fighting to protect people, fighting to get things out, fighting for marketing. It seems like it's a little rough way. It's not as glamorous as people would think.
Yeah, I mean, everything you're saying is true. Mm-hmm. And I definitely, after coming off a summer like this with a lot of production and a lot of fighting, part of me is like, so when do I get to retire? Or when do I get to sell out if anybody will buy? But, when you get to see the movies and see the impact they have on people and how amazing that is, it does make it all worth it.
Is that where you finally get the buzz, or does it happen at certain times? Is there a rush for you at certain times of these projects where it's working, or it just feels like you're in the right business?
You get a buzz. Depending on the movie, it's like when Cate Blanchett agreed to be I'm Not There. Mm-hmm. That was really exciting because I suddenly got a sense of what this movie could be. Seeing musical numbers performed, we do a lot of music movies, and in Hedwig, it was extraordinary. Like just the first time, you saw John rock it out, and same with Velvet Goldmine. I mean, that's really a blast. So they all, and then of course showing, their premieres. We just premiered Infamous at Venice, and it got a 10-minute standing ovation.
So all that's for it too. And I guess you were the one that shepherded John Cameron Mitchell all the way through that too, and now he's got this career of his that I guess he wouldn't have any shot at. Have you heard much about the next film that he's doing?
It's fantastic.
You've seen
Short
it?
Bus.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
I'm a little nervous about it because, again, I don't know whether it's going to take him to the next level with people.
I don't know if that's what his goal is.
Right.
I mean, it is an incredibly original, funny, provocative, but, totally moving film. And, I wish we could have done it. It wasn't, it's not, there were a lot of reasons why it didn't make sense for Killer to do it. Mm-hmm. But it is really terrific.
And I guess you stay in touch with everybody that's done your stuff before, and it's a matter of them leaving, coming back, and whenever it seems to work out for you. And, you brought up even the Velvet Goldmine film. I love that film. And I don't know whether it's just because of that age. Earl and I talk about that film all the time and try to figure out who was each character. Rather than being, a straight biography, you get to play little games for yourself. That one, you felt like maybe Miramax didn't get behind enough. I guess that had to be heartbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's always heartbreaking. And the fact is, sometimes movies don't do well because people just don't want to see them.
Right.
But I can't ever... I always have to blame somebody else.
Yeah.
So, Velvet Goldmine was a difficult experience because I cared so much about that film. And I was so convinced of how much people would love it if they actually got to see it.
I always have this debate with a friend of mine where her point is, well, people go see, the really bad blockbusters because... they don't know that the other films are out there. But I think at some point, now because you can go and rent these films or different ways, that there is enough of a chance for people to become fans and to take some responsibility. You know what I mean? Like almost consumer responsibility and say, I'm going to go and find out where the smaller theater is in my town. I'm not just going to show up at the multiplex. And a lot of time, we were living in Fairfax, Virginia for a while. I would go to see films at this little place called Cinema Arts, which was the old mall, So the theaters were run down, but they would always play cool films. And I would watch a lot of films with senior citizens. I think senior citizens have a better feel about what films should be going than young people do.
Well, maybe they have a little bit more time to read all the reviews.
It might be down to that. But it's the same with like going out and buying food. You don't have to go to Chili's or whatever. You can always find the little ethnic place that'll work for you. Christine Vachon, thanks so much for
my
coming
pleasure.
in. Really, really big fans. If you get the opportunity to go out and see her tonight.
She's going to be at the Barnes & Noble on 6th Avenue in New York City starting at 7 p.m. for a reading and signing of her new book, A Killer Life, How an Independent Film Producer Survives Deals and Disasters in Hollywood and Beyond. And look for her next film, Infamous, opening in New York and L.A. on October 13th and then nationwide a week later.
We'll be there. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Ron and Fez, XM 202.
Fez show. Well, Fezzy, during the commercial break there, I was in a long conversation with Christine Vachon. Keep your fingers crossed that I'll be leaving this show to go on and produce films for Killer Films.
I am not going to cross my fingers for that.
I've got this idea right now. It's kind of a jackass thing. I don't want to get it away. But my idea that I pitched was called Hit Fez with Stuff. And it's going to start out where we're throwing smaller stuff at you.
Right.
And then we build it all the way up to a Buick. So keep your fingers crossed, everybody.
No, I'm not. In fact, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm spreading my fingers as far apart as possible.
Well, that's not very far. Hot dog hands.
They really are little popcorn shrimp that I call fingers.
I'm starving. We got any popcorn shrimp back there, Earl?
No, we don't.
What about ballpark Franks?
Unfortunately, we just ran out of Franks.
Earl, would you like to do a film? Would you like to produce a film?
Oh, who would not want to make a movie?
You know what person that you would be perfect to play in a film? Hattie McDaniel, and I pitched on the bio.
I don't want to wear that little schmott on my head.
Could you just yell something so I could tape it and send it over to Christine? I don't know nothing about birth and no babies.
Wait, isn't it? I thought that was Butterfly McQueen.
Like, there's a difference. Honestly.
I was like, I don't know nothing about birth and no babies.
Perfect. Give me that on a drop, isolate it, and off we go.
And scene.
Earl, how you feeling? You look a little better today. You got some color back in your face.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a rough weekend, but today was like the first day the headaches was not overwhelming.
The brain tumor's not as bad as relieved a little bit? Alleviated?
Sometimes it swells. It flares up on him like a cold sore.
Yeah, the funny part is you're not that far from the truth. Sometimes it just gets almost debilitating.
Will you stay in here with us a little bit today? You got Dave over there in the captain's seat trying to work. We had to take Earl out of there because we've got some guests coming in today, and we did not want the first and last memory of the Ron and Fez show to be Eastside Dave. So we have to make adjustments so people don't know that Dave is working for us.
I guess. Here's a crazy redhead we'd like you to meet.
Well, we don't even get to do that.
Yeah.
Then they would be comfortable with it. They show up here, and Bug Eyes is at the fucking door, frothing at the mouth, telling them crazy shit.
I treat them with respect, with class. I don't know where this reputation has come from.
I'm sure in your way that's true. I'm sure that you think you're doing the best thing. But have you ever been so drunk that all you can remember from your blackout is people's faces looking petrified at you? Like, you don't remember a real lot, but you remember them going like, come on, sit down. Give me the keys. That is like every memory that Dave has for himself.
Yeah, that happens to me every weekend. So now that you put it in those terms.
But even when you're sober, when you're sober,
that's very upsetting.
You're reckless and scary to strangers.
Really? I just find myself to be sociable.
The Pope, he has offered somewhat of an apology that Muslim leaders are not accepting. He recently made some comments about Islam.
There we go. We're burying the lead, but let's pop into it from the beginning.
Yeah, he's saying he's sorry that Muslims were offended by his recent remarks about Islam, and Islamic leaders are saying that apology is not enough.
Well, you want to explain the whole story. So he tells the story about Islam, that it's a religion of hate and that type of thing. Well, then they start to freak out. I don't know what it is about these Muslims, but you can't even slightly bust their balls without them lighting shit on fire and going crazy. So the Pope had to come back and go, I'm sorry so many of you got upset, which is not a real apology. What it is once again pointing out that people can't get along with you. You do this with your wife or your girlfriend, where you'll go, look, I'm sorry if you're that small-minded about it. Again, not an apology. It's just furthering the insult.
So far, all he's apologized for is their flaws. Their overreacting and their upsetness.
But I got to point this out to the Muslims. You got to stop freaking out every time somebody says something that you don't like. At the very most, bitch at them. Send some letters. I don't even mind the jumping up and down in the street. But you're lighting shit on fire. Maybe a nun died over this thing. They don't know whether they can tie it in. You Muslims get too fucking crazy.
Yeah, this is just like the Mohammed cartoons out of Denmark. So now they don't think the Pope's going to be able to go to Turkey in November like he had planned. And
wasn't it a Turk that shot the old Pope?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. I don't ever see Turkey as being a good plan for a Pope. That's like sending a president back to Dallas. You're not fucking going to get it.
And then one of the Iraqi insurgent groups have said they're going to attack the Vatican. They said, we're going to send you...
The Vatican has their own guard, their own medieval guard. Have you ever seen it?
No.
They're like knights. They have like lances, and they don't have guns. Maybe it's just ceremonial, but they do call themselves the guard.
They may want to pick up some actual guns if the insurgents are coming.
Well, they really worry more about dragons than anything.
And some Mideast countries have called their representatives to the Vatican back home.
You know, I want to point this out to the Mideast countries. They're going to fucking bomb you back into the Stone Age. You're going to keep this shit up more and more getting upset to where people are going, the only way that we're going to be able to rest at night is if they're all going. I'm trying to save your lives right now. I'm trying to chill everybody out. But it doesn't seem that you're going to listen to me.
Tomorrow is the day that President Bush and the Iranian president are both supposed to speak at the UN.
Now, the president not in New York yet, right?
No, I don't think he's here yet, no.
Midtown has been a gridlock for 3 days for blocking stuff off.
Yeah, or just check in every little thing to make sure, they'll check manhole covers, mailboxes.
But they're already blocking streets off 3 days before he gets here. I've never seen this kind of security before. I don't even want to say what hotel it is, but if you ever checked, the presidents always stay in the same hotel. That area, it's just a nightmare to get in and out. I don't know what's in it for the hotel, because I don't know what happens to their other guests.
Yeah, it seems like you can only have one guest, and it's not like the president goes on TV and does a plug. I want to thank this hotel for letting me stay there.
Yeah, they've got to come up with some real cash. The government must, just to have a place to keep them. John, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, how you guys doing this morning? Good to see you.
How you doing?
Ronnie, they do have guns. They're badass. They're the Swiss Guards that are actually the Vatican police.
All right, let me point this out to you. Badass and Swiss have never gone together.
Oh, come on. You've had badass Swiss cheese before.
Yeah. And when it comes to turn for tough, I'm not seeing the Swiss as being guys that people... First of all, they didn't get involved in World War II. They really couldn't pick a side. Now, if there's ever a time where you could see right or wrong, it had to be World War II.
Oh, they brag about that neutrality. How they're able not to pick a side.
Well, they did make a lot of money. Elmer, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
What's going on, buddies?
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, the Swiss Guard are the ones who guard the Vatican, and honestly, they wouldn't be able to keep a group of kindergartners out of there.
Thank you very much. All they've come up with is the Swiss Army knife. How did that help anybody in a war? An army knife.
Anyone who needed to clip their nails.
Steve, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, I heard the Mike Judge movie, Idiocracy, was pulled by Fox because they test marketed it and no one got the jokes about people being stupid.
Yeah,
Proving how stupid we are getting.
No, I don't think that Office Space was a big hit in the theaters either. No. That became a hit later on DVD and cable, and now it runs constantly. So there's something about Mike Judge that when he puts in human beings instead of cartoons, they find it harder to get. And this thing had been promoted for a while.
Yeah, I thought it was out. I thought it came out and went already. I didn't know that it actually got pulled. I hadn't heard that story.
Yeah, it never got released. Unless you saw it somewhere. Maybe it got released in a couple little theaters and then dumped.
No, I just thought I had heard that it was already out.
Because sometimes they'll do that. They'll dump it into 2 or 3 theaters, pull it out, and send it right into DVD stuff. Phil, you're on Ron and Fez.
Yeah, hey, Ron.
Yeah.
I just heard your comments about the Muslims, and I'd like to say something about this, if it's okay with you. The Old Testament speaks of the descendants of Ishmael, and they also speak of the descendants of Esau as being a wild people, so they're never going to get any discipline. You're never going to be able to reason with them.
And you believe the Old Testament as far as what you should be doing today?
Well, I'm a born-again Christian. I was
so the last thing you like is fundamental people.
So, no, I take each individual as it comes. I mean,
I think it's important to be in a crazy in a different religion. Everybody should be only in their own crazy extreme religions.
If you really are into that Old Testament, what you might want to do is start hitting tall people with slingshots.
What I'd like to do right now, and I don't know if I can pull it off, it's my dream, get rid of the Christians,
right?
The Jews. I'd like to get rid of the Muslims. I'd even throw the Hindus in there. If I can get rid of those 4, I can turn this place into Chilltown. Earth could be renamed Chilltown. Aaron, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Hey, buddy boy.
Yeah.
Hey, with this thing, about the Muslims getting pissed off, what we don't realize, we've got freedom of speech, pretty much, and
do we?
They don't.
Yeah.
And they get pissed off, if they say something
they don't like, they can get their head lopped off.
Yeah, I don't mind people not liking what you have to say. But when they start lighting stuff on fire and blowing shit up, and thinking like, well, this is your fault. You brought this on. That's the problem. And it isn't just freedom of speech. It seems to be freedom from thought. Any kind of thought is what they're about. They go back like that caller 2 ago and go, well, in the Bible it says, so I don't need to think about it myself.
Pete Rose, he at New Jersey auction house.
Earl, Fez, can we just refer to him as Showboatin' Pete Rose from now on?
Sure, no problem.
Because the man loves the showboat.
There's a New Jersey auction house that's going to sell off about 30 baseballs that Showboatin' Pete Rose signed.
Now that you say it sounds crazy. Let's just call him Charlie Hustle.
With the inscription, I'm sorry I bet on baseball, Pete Rose.
No. I thought he always said that he never bet on baseball.
Well, I guess this is something special, limited edition, where he's willing to admit it in print on a baseball.
Now, did he say that, or was that a little joke?
His spokesperson said that he signed them, that he did sign them, and they are for sale. But
how much?
I don't know what they're going to get auctioned off or what they're expecting.
Have you heard any of this at all, Dave? I know you're a baseball fan.
Just very sparsely, yeah.
Sparsely?
Sparsely, yes.
Thank you.
And they put that on my plate as a garnish.
Right.
What?
I would say about $150 if I had to appraise it.
No way. It's got to go higher than that. The man is saying he bet on baseball. First of all, what is it normally for a signed Pete Rose ball?
Oh, I would say it's probably $300, $400.
So according to Dave, it's worth even less if he writes on it, I did it.
Yeah, but
OJ can sign, I'm sorry I killed my wife, and then the next one, oh yeah, the waiter too.
I don't think his baseball autographs are worth a lot, though, because he signs like 1 million.
All he does is sign. He signs constantly.
So the value goes down tremendously. That's the thing of stock. Or there's some sort of economics thing that I know. Like
it doesn't seem like you do know.
Supply and demand. Supply and demand.
Right.
And because of his supply is up too much, his demand is down.
I'm going to ask you to stop talking.
Okay.
Okay? For being stupid.
All right.
Sean, you're on Ron and Fez. I hate my show. I really fucking do. Go ahead, Sean.
Hey, I got to disagree with that last caller that just called in. We as an American people do not have freedom of speech when talking about the Muslims. Watching Fox News and they have to get soap. Are we allowed to do anything or say anything in return? No. Because as soon as we say something, they're going to start blowing shit up.
What is it that you would like to say, Sean, under this anonymity that you enjoy by being a caller on a radio show? What would you like to say?
No, I'm sick and tired of the Muslims popping off at the smallest thing. And you brought it up earlier. They did it with a cartoon.
They're fucking talking smack every time we turn around. They make fucking Bush look smarter by the minute because they're out of their fucking mind crazy. Anytime you hear the word fundamentalist with anything, it's fucking spooky. Just nutty talk. Justin, you're on Ron and Fez. Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, Ron, I was going to ask you if do you see a difference between Christianity and Muslims?
No, I don't.
You don't see Christianity as doing the same thing the Muslims do now, 2,000 years ago?
I see it as being exactly the same.
Exactly.
No. So when you said, do I see a difference? That's why I answered no to that. I see everybody who has any kind of belief system as being insane. I do not want to have a belief system about anything. Every day I want to wake up and it's all fresh new thoughts and I have to learn and relearn it time and time over. We've got some folks in that did the film Jesus Camp. They'll be coming in a few moments, Fez.
Heidi Ewing and Rachel Grady, they'll be in to talk to us. Jesus Camp, that's going to open in New York this Friday on the 22nd and then in select theaters across the country next month.
So only select theaters, though.
Select theaters.
No. Steve, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, boys, love the show.
Yeah, it is good. I was just telling that to the Muslims.
Yeah, I wish it's kind of ironic, though, really. The Pope comes out and says that they're hateful and violent, and in response, they shoot a nun and burn the Pope in effigy.
Yeah, it is insane the way that every single time the same thing happened with those stupid cartoons, that they take it way big. They just go over the top with it. Haas Haas, you're on the Ron and Fez show. How are you, pal?
Good. How are you doing, Ron?
Good.
Hey, this is Haas from Dallas again. I just want to say that, all this bashing Muslims, man, saying that, hey, they're all like that. It's just, ignorant, man. There are people here that are just working and oh, yeah, I'm going to get this guy because he's Muslim. It's like, dude, just
Haas,
chill, man.
Who helped you make this phone call? And why don't we have a screener? Why is somebody as stupid as Haas getting through, Dave? How can that happen? What kind of system is set up of we're trying to pick interesting calls and somebody will say Haas is one of them?
That's a flawed system.
It is a flawed system. Look into the supply and demand of the calls, all right? We have a big supply. I demand that the calls are better.
I'll work on that algorithm for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Do me a favor, fix the lighting in there because I can't see it all. It looks like you are, it looks like you're completely white from here. All right, Fezzy, we will talk about this film coming up with the directors.
Jesus Camp is the film. The directors are coming in to speak with us, Heidi Ewing and Rachel Grady.
Reach out, touch faith.
It's the Ron and Fez show. In studio with us now, the directors of Jesus Camp, documentary that's going to open in New York this Friday, September 22nd, then in select theaters across the country next month. Heidi Ewing and Rachel Grady are in the studio with us.
Welcome, ladies.
Thanks for having us.
You just missed Christine Vachon. She was in here a little while ago, and we were telling her about your documentary, so she wants to check it out. She hadn't heard about this yet. I got a chance to see it. Tell me how you came up with the idea of going in this direction. A Jesus Camp is a camp to take kids to in the summer, and...
Well, we became interested in children who are really into their religion and really into faith on the last film that we made, and we started to explore this. Is it a movement? Are there a lot of kids like this? Turns out there is a lot of evangelical kids who are really that Jesus Christ is sort of the center of their life. And we ran across Becky's camp, and we thought it was an interesting way to, well, look at children of faith, but then also look at the evangelical movement, sort of the broader story of the politicization of the evangelical movement. So we tried to do both in the film.
Now, I grew up Catholic, which is a little more formal than what I saw in here. Fez, would your Protestant religion be part of that?
Yeah. I'm a Lutheran and part of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America.
And what about Earl? You're a Baptist, Earl?
Yes, I'm a Baptist.
And when you watched this film, you said it wasn't that different from what you did as a kid, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that extreme, but it was very similar to some of the things that I went through and some of the things that are happening now. So it was just kind of, it flipped me out to see the mirror come, that image look right back at me a little bit.
The image of what? Your own life, your own childhood?
Yeah, it was a little bit of my own childhood and going to Bible classes and all of that stuff.
Now, when I watched the film, because some people are going to think, okay, somebody's taking shots at Christians again, because Christians have done a very great job of acting like they're under fire all the time, even though it's the majority, by far, religion in this country.
I think it's 90% Americans.
Yeah. And somehow, too, they always act like science is against religion and government is against religion, and we all have to pull together and, handle this. So what's the feedback you guys have gotten so far on it? Because it doesn't seem like it's like you're just laying it out there.
As far as the feedback we've been getting from
the religious groups themselves,
it's been interesting. It's been mixed. I think that, like you said, I think the first instinct is to reject it and feel like, because Heidi and I are from New York City and might be considered quote-unquote secular filmmakers, that we're going to do an expose or do some sort of hatchet job and make fun of them or ridicule them in some way. And I think that is just the instinct, the initial instinct. But when Christians have gone, born-again Christians in particular, have gone to see the film in some of the word-of-mouth screenings, I think they've been pleasantly surprised at how neutral we presented the material. We thought it was really important and actually much more provocative and would create a much more interesting dialogue if our point of view was left out as much as possible.
And also something strange has kind of happened recently. We just found out the last few days, because all the people who are in the movie love the film, embrace the film, feel that they were accurately represented at the very, very least. But one person who was in the film, Ted Haggard, who's the head of the National Association of Evangelicals, representing 30 million constituents, he is sort of rejecting the film and ridiculing the film and saying it's not an accurate portrayal. And we find that really interesting, because I think there's some kind of snobbery amongst evangelicals against maybe Pentecostals or charismatics, because they speak in tongues and they little hands, and it's sort of very fervent, passionate worship. And although he is a charismatic himself, he's sort of been talking against the film, which we think is really, really ironic.
He was the guy at the end of the film in the very, very gigantic church that...
He's a mega church pastor, in Colorado Springs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just this gigantic church, and what really got to me is there was a lot of laughs there I didn't get. Like, they have a whole kind of language and even sense of humor. I'm like, where am I about? But what I did love about your film is these little kids that are saying stuff that would be, against things that I personally would believe. They were just adorable. These kids,
they're cute.
Were unbelievably cute, and unbelievably their heart was in the right place.
They're genuine.
Yeah. There was a kid in the film that was like, because at certain points they get all the kids to come up and cry and kind of be reborn again. I guess being born again is not enough. You're still a sinner. You still have to go deeper and deeper into the Amway products. And this kid is crying on the stage and going, I don't know, sometimes it's like I don't even believe in the Bible. And I'm like, what an honest thing that you would never get out of an adult in the company of their peers.
Yeah, it took a lot of guts.
Yeah, I am trying as much as I can to connect with God, and it freaks me out that I can't seem to pull it
It was
up.
very refreshing to have that in the film and to find that child. In fact, he saw the film for the first time 3 days ago. We were there with him in Kansas City, and I was a little nervous because he was the only one that would say that. I mean, it's just sort of taboo just to admit that you sometimes don't even think there is a God.
Mm-hmm.
Although for us, of course, doubt is part of faith. Everyone, I thought everyone felt that, but in this community, that is really brave for him to do that. And I think he kind of sort of anchors the film because everyone can kind of relate to that moment.
Yeah. It was like being in an AA meeting when someone goes, I really want to drink. I don't care what anyone says. I know we've been talking this shit for an hour, but I really feel like if I did
want a cocktail.
if I did a shot right now, I'd be much better. Now, Fez, did you actually teach church when you were a kid? Or?
I taught high school Bible class.
Right.
So high school Sunday school. And a lot of the literature and stuff they would hand me to teach the kids. I remember one in particular, it was about cults. And I noticed so many different religions. I mean, it wasn't just Scientology or, Jamestown or anything, Jonestown, anything like that.
Yeah, Jamestown was fine. Fez.
Yeah, in Virginia. That was
like
good.
a little colony that we needed.
Let's not get confused.
Yeah.
But, when they were telling me, teach the Mormons are a cult and that sort of thing, and the Jehovah's Witnesses.
So what's your point on it? That, again, the faiths don't even... believe in each other.
Exactly, where it's like, all right, there's
one
Christian
man's
belief.
religion is another man's cult.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Well, it's interesting because there's a lot of divisions amongst all these sects of Christianity, and people have different theology and all of that. But when it comes down to voting, and the big issues like gay marriage and abortion,
right.
they all vote together and they sort of unify in those key moments.
Right.
So I find it interesting that the rest of the year, off years, there's a lot of infighting between evangelicals.
And it always comes back into those same two issues, that no matter what happens, we have to hear about gay marriage and abortion and...
Intelligent design now.
Yeah, intelligent design scares the hell out of them because science wants to... fool us into believing, crazy talk. But you look at this, and at one point of it, we could have fun and even feel superior to people. On the other hand, is they are running the country now as we speak. And at the same time, they're anti-government, which I didn't understand from your film. When they were breaking the cups that said government on it?
Well, in that particular scene, the reason they're against the government in that particular scene is because the people in our film feel like the government really did a disservice to everybody when prayer was taken out of the public school system. And that was a protest against not having prayer in school and not having the Christian faith as one of the basic tenets of the public school education. And that is why a lot of them homeschool, actually.
Right. What figures did you guys give about how much homeschool is like fundamentalist Christians? It's
like between 1.5 and 2 million kids are homeschooled with a creation-based curriculum, with a Christian curriculum. It's about 75%
of all homeschoolers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the main thing there is just to keep the same stream of information to the kids as much as they can.
Yes, and they believe deeply that a lot of the things, a lot of the habits that the kids would pick up in the public school system are going to compromise their morals, compromise them as Christians, that they're determined to keep their kids within the faith and the faith that they've, how they've defined it for as long as possible, and homeschooling is as a means to that end.
And it goes beyond that as well. It's not just the homeschooling, but most of the kids in our film also, like, for example, Tori, a girl in our film, she takes ballet classes at a homeschooling-only dance studio. So they have classes during the school day on a Tuesday at 2 o'clock, and there are homeschooling football leagues, baseball leagues. Levi is in a homeschool-only theater group right now. So there's an entire apparatus set up to help these homeschooling parents keep their kids, from being exposed from sort of the more secular habits of the public school kids. So I was totally unaware of that until we started this movie.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting, but at the same time, like, if anything makes me feel okay about it is that I realized that the 60s followed the 50s, that you can try to hold people. I'll give you an example. In your film, they have these kids all day. It's Jesus, 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 come up, accept, let me pour water on you. As soon as the boys got off at their own at night, they started doing ghost stories and right away, basically devil stuff. Like, does this freak you out at all? So there's got to be something in the human spirit, I think, that we can take out of it, that maybe these kids will be okay with it, you know?
Well, also puberties.
Yeah, let's
always
hope.
the ultimate divider is puberty for everybody.
Have you kept up with the little boy? I don't know his name, but he had the real long mullet.
Levi.
Yeah.
We saw him 2 days ago.
How's he doing?
He is the child I was referring to. That's in The Taming of the Shrew, a shortened version of it for the homeschooling theater group. He's doing great. He still wants to be a preacher and go on missions to India and maybe be a doctor and be a missionary. And he's definitely going through puberty. And he seems like he's still, has the same beliefs as he did when we first started out.
Actually, he was we brought him up to do a Q&A with us at one of these word of mouth screenings, and one of the people asked him, do your parents make you do this? What do you feel like you have any say in how much time you spend with God? And he said, my parents suggested to me and told me that they think the Bible is good to read all the time, but I do it on my own. Right. And so he's embraced it for himself at this point.
And you guys are, and you're sure of that too, right? I mean, I really do. Everybody has their own faith, and I think the only part of this that starts to get scary is when it starts to look like a wave coming out, and this is the way we're going to vote, not just today, but for the next 30, 40, 50 years. Mm-hmm. That's the only part of it that weirds me out at all.
Exactly, because anyway, everyone can believe whatever they want to believe. Who cares? I mean, everyone can have their own theology. When it becomes about legislating those beliefs, I think that's when people get extremely uncomfortable.
But there is a way to, retaliate, if you want to use that word. I mean, everyone is free to run for office and to vote and to be engaged. Either side. And if one side is embracing the democratic process more fervently than the other, I don't think there's anyone to blame for that.
Right. You're saying you have no problem with the churches being involved in government at all if that's what the majority of the voters want.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying as individuals that everybody has as much power as anybody else.
Yeah. And that's not what the majority wants. The majority of America probably is right in the middle, pretty moderate. The thing is, if nobody votes and only people with very, very fervent beliefs get together and vote, that starts to feel like the majority because that's how legislation gets made.
Right.
Heidi Ewing and Rachel Grady are in the studio with us. Their new film, Jesus Camp, opens in New York this Friday, September 22nd, and then in select theaters in October.
All right, so we've done crazy Christians. The next one I want to be crazy Muslims, crazy Jews, because it's a nutty world out there now.
It's a really nutty world out there. Yeah. I hope there's a lot more films about religion. I think now's the time people are interested.
Well, the Catholic are going to be fighting the Muslims now. They're backing up their gang leader.
Disaster.
The Pope. And we're just really at a point now where everybody's talking about invisible people and which invisible person is the best one.
I don't know. I think fundamentalist religion is going to be the nail in the coffin for humanity.
You think that's the end of it?
I think it is the single biggest problem worldwide.
Then I'm going to start running up my credit cards. I'm not going to look forward to the future at all. I'm going to cash out while things are still going well, Fez. All right, so folks who are calling in with questions, you want to take some?
Sure.
The name of the film is Jesus Camp, and this is not an extreme religion, right? This is the place that you went to is not unlike where most churches would send their kids, would you say?
Oh, it's different. The camp is definitely more extreme.
Okay.
It's mostly charismatic and Pentecostal evangelicals. Not every Bible camp looks like this, but actually a lot of people after screenings, even in New York City, have come up to us and said, you know what, my camp looked a lot like that or felt a lot like that. So we're not sure how many camps like Becky's are out there. I don't think it's the majority, but...
But you wouldn't imagine that they would take heat from the other places, like other churches wouldn't say, "Wait, this is going too far." That they're okay.
No, it's happening. That is happening. Yep. Mm-hmm. Even within the evangelical community, I think that they might be a little bit embarrassed.
Right.
That maybe it's not that they have a problem with the sentiment, and they don't have a problem with the ultimate message, but the vehicle which the message is getting delivered to the kids might be a little bit too obvious or too loud and too showy.
And she did seem to be somewhat of an egomaniac, that she was working to the kids because maybe she couldn't get to adults. That, there seemed to be something about her loving being the center of attention. That's the way I took it when I was watching.
Well, she definitely makes, she's a wonderful documentary film character, and a healthy ego helps that.
And when you showed her, there was parts at the end where you're showing her stuff, she was very happy with what she saw, right?
She's very happy with the film. She had told us she loves the film. It portrays her accurately, and she's all for it. She's not ashamed of what she's doing by any means.
All right, here's Mike. Mike, you're on Ron and Fez. How are you, buddy? Go ahead, Mike.
Good.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing? I got a question for her. I'm down here in Kentucky in the horse capital of the world, and I got two questions. One, if I'm a good guy and I'm not baptized, and the guy next to me, he's a murderer, but he's been baptized, and we take a look and we see those apocalyptic horses going across the sky, which one of us is going to burn in hell?
Well, that would, Fez, you're a Lutheran.
The way I would have been told is the guy who's baptized is going to heaven, and you, sir, are going to hell.
I heard that too. No, actually, it's just evangelicals. If you force them, if you push them, they have to tell you that if you're not born again, and that doesn't mean baptized at infancy, because I was raised a Catholic too, and I'm definitely going to hell according to an evangelical unless I accept Jesus as my personal Savior the way that they do it. So there's no getting around that. When you push an evangelical, they have to tell you that. That's their belief.
Can we wait to the last possible second before we do? I just would like to have a couple of fun.
Only Jews can, actually. I found that out. Jews get a last-minute reprieve on being born again.
Well, you know, I talked to a friend of mine who was born again, and a lot of times it's always the real partiers, the real wild guys who get born again. But he told me, doesn't matter what Jews do, they're going to heaven because chosen people. So what I should do is switch over and be a Jew, because that's you don't really have to do much. Yeah.
Safest.
Maybe I should do that too.
Things
not
have
a bad idea.
changed a little bit about the way those people think about Jews. They used to be Christ killers. Now we need Israel. Fez, you probably know about this because it has something to do with the book of Revelation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The prophecy, the temple, Solomon's temple has to be rebuilt in Israel in order for Jesus to come again.
So we need Israel to stay strong.
Do you know that there are 400,000 evangelical tourists visit Israel every year? It's a big business also. I mean, the ties are very strong between the evangelical ministers and the Israeli government right now, too.
The problem is there's a giant mosque sitting on the site of where the temple is supposed to be rebuilt.
Well, that's no hill for a high stepper, Fezzy. All we got to do is knock that down in World War III. You know, I'm starting to agree with you. We're not getting out of this. It's not going to happen. It's all going to go bad. Here's Dave. Dave, you're on Ron and Fez. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Yeah.
First of all, the fundamental Christians scare me as much as fundamental Muslims. But my question is, are these kids, if they're doing, you know, these after-school activities with just their own homeschool, were you able to pick up, are they going to be able to be mainstreamed, or are they going to be well adjusted as adults, or how does it strike you?
We'll give them a chance to answer that. What do you think?
Only time will tell. I don't know. They seem they seem okay now. You know, as far as they're high functioning. They're not dysfunctional kids. But like we were saying, you know, these are all prepubescent children, and I think that rocks everybody's world. And you know, there are institutions in place where they can stay separate forever. I mean, there are homeschooling universities, and there are paths they
never have to leave that home of theirs. They could just stay
There's
forever.
a net to catch the kids. I mean, it's not that they just, you know, they're left to their own devices once they hit high school. You can be homeschooled through high school, and then there's huge youth teen churches within the mega churches. The movement is thinking about the teenagers and trying very much to keep them in the faith. So even puberty, they could get through puberty and all that stage of rebellion and still end up completely towing sort of the party line. So it's unclear.
Yeah, you know what? They've really done a good job because they've assimilated certain things, like with the little girls, you really feel this need to dance for Jesus.
Right.
Little boys, you want to rock and throw the horns up. Let's do some Jesus heavy metal. So instead of acting like all rock is bad, let's light it on fire, they try to give you some Pantera, but with Jesus lyrics, because God forbid any second of the day your mind should go to a different topic.
Well, every secular institution or piece of popular culture that seculars, have, there is an exact replica for evangelical Christians. Cartoons, radio, music, theater, everything. There's a replacement for everything that secular kids enjoy. So they don't feel like they're missing anything.
I was watching you could catch it in your documentary, Jesus Camp, the kids sitting at home watching the cartoon about intelligent design, creationism, instead of evolution.
Here is John. John, you're on Fez.
Yeah, buddies. Hey, Ronnie, I just wanted to qualify something that you mentioned about the Jews being the chosen people that go to heaven no matter what.
Yeah.
I just finished taking a theology course, so I kind of remember all this. I believe Judaic tradition, there's no immediate assumption to heaven or to hell when you die. When you die, you're gone. You go to the kingdom of God at the end of time. All the way when the Messiah comes. That's when the Jews are redeemed. Christians, when you die, you are judged and you go to heaven or hell, and then there's a second coming and stuff. But with the Jews, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody out there,
end of time seems like a long wait.
Yeah. You got to wait till the end of time. All right, take care, buddy.
All right, thanks. And if I'm laying in state, you just don't know where you are. At that end of time, it's going to be pretty surprising to suddenly be called back into things. Like,
you'll be well rested by then, though.
I was really used to being nothing, and now here I am back in the game one more time. Here is Jason. You're on Fez.
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, pal.
Hey, I'm born and raised in Amarillo. I still live there. It's very influenced by the Baptist control everything, the Methodists. But those kids it was forced upon them ended up being some of the worst kids in the neighborhood, and it was hidden when they screwed up. It wasn't talked about. There was excuses made, and I wonder if they can see any of that in the future for some of these kids that are involved in that.
Well, I have to say the kids that are in our film are some of the best behaved children I've ever seen in my entire life. So actually, it was surprising how good they were. They weren't. I have an 18-year-old brother, and he's a pretty good kid, but he talks back and has dabbled in this and that, and I just. Actually, what was so surprising is how really obedient they are.
Mm-hmm. But again, just at this age, because I had friends that, Sam Kinison was raised the same exact way. And at a certain point, there's a snapback factor. And I think the only problem that I have with the way that they're laying the faith on the kids is that it's an absolute. They want to take some of the thinking, some of the critical thinking away from the kids.
Well, the kids also speak in absolutes. I never heard in a year of shooting any kid say, I wonder why, or I don't know if, and all of those questions, they're not even rhetorically. They have the answers. Their parents have the answers in the Bible. So they live a life full of absolutes.
Right.
And I think that somehow they feel unburdened and very confident about things because they have an answer. They have to open that book and they'll find it.
Right.
So in a way, it's freeing for them, and maybe they'll fall hard when they find out that there's not an answer for everything down the road.
My favorite was the little girl who has her life all planned out. She wants to be an evangelical nail tech.
Yeah.
And just open a salon, have some nice Christian music playing in the background, and while she's doing people's nails and has them relax.
Very practical.
She'll preach the Word of God.
Mm-hmm. Even a kid I met who wants to be a famous baseball star. I mean, what kid doesn't say he wants to be a famous football, basketball, or baseball star? He says, but I want to be a Christian baseball star where I can evangelize because I'm in the spotlight. So there's always a twist. Even if you want fame, it's got to be used for God.
Right.
You know?
I think I like that little girl, too, because she went and tried to pick up the hot chick at that place. So I'm like, yeah, good move. Dennis, you're on Fez.
Hi, buddy.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask the filmmaker, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, I apologize. Isn't there any sort of standards, educational standards, that even homeschooling has to adhere to be recognized by the government as a adequate replacement for public schooling? And wouldn't you think that some of these things that they're teaching, Ron touched on it, specifically sort of the complete lack of any sort of critical thinking, fall outside of those standards?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and we're not an expert on this, so I'm not going to go too far on this. However, what we observed was that, yes, the mothers took very, very serious logs, and took it very seriously of how many hours a day they were teaching, and they had to do math, they had to do science. It's not that, for example, in the science class, it's not that evolution and Darwin aren't mentioned. They're mentioned as the alternative theory to intelligent design. They're mentioned, it's mentioned that perhaps, Darwin recanted at the last minute. There's things about Galileo. They talk about Galileo, and they discuss, was it okay for him to give up science for Christ? And I think the answer is yes, it was good. It's not that they don't learn things that are being taught in the public school. It's just that they're looked at with much more suspicion, and they put much more weight on the things that fall into the Christian beliefs. So I think that's how they, quote unquote, I guess you'd say, get away with it, because they are handling most of the things that public school handles, but again, as a twist on them.
And so the answer is yes, they hold up to all the standards of a public school education.
And, it's not an easy thing to homeschool your kids. You've got to put time into it. You've got to be there with them. At the same time, let's not act like the public school system really does such a great job either.
Sure.
I mean, they say, they drummed evolution into your head in public school. I can barely remember talking about any, all I really remember was writing bands' names on my notebooks and, talking to my friends later about skipping it.
Heidi and I talked about that at length. I mean, the bottom line is that these parents these mothers are dedicating almost their entire lives to their kids.
Sure.
And, they, in a way, are almost worship their kids,
right.
And they're right. The public education in this country sucks.
Right.
So, there's a lot of things you can't argue with. I really think that their heart is in the right place, and they are dedicating themselves to their children in a way that is unrivaled.
And
in the secular world.
And I got some news for you. I have a feeling that the kids in our film, let's take out the science question and all of that, they're articulate, their spelling is good, they're well-spoken, their math skills are good. They're probably getting a better education on the whole as an average public school kid. I know it's hard to swallow, but, you take that kind of time with your kid,
It's one-on-one,
Sure.
I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
And these kids are being told, you're the generation that's going to be the difference. And
they feel so empowered.
Yeah.
They're telling these kids that God is literally counting on them.
Right.
That Jesus Christ's return to earth is based on their behavior, and the kids take it very, very seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it only gets into the asking the kids, are you willing to die for the cause? That you start to go, this is getting a little Third Reich with us. It's a little fascist seeming.
Well, martyrdom is, there's a lot of talk of martyrdom.
Right.
And I think the people in our film would say that can be misunderstood, that no one is going to strap on a bomb or, blow up an abortion clinic. That's not what they're talking about. In fact, if that were the mandate behind the kids at this camp, we would not have made this film or given any of these people any platform. So, but it's sort of, I guess it's just the concept of if you had to, if it came down to it, would you give up your life for the cause?
Right.
Now, it's kind of murky what that actually means. But there's a lot of talk of martyrdom in the Bible, especially in the Old Testament, and they focus very, very heavily on the Old Testament writings, which are definitely, I think, more bellicose than you'd find in the New Testament. So they're also studying more those passages.
Yeah, those stories are a lot more dramatic than someone just getting stoned. It's, Daniel gets put in the lion's den, and the lions end up liking him. And the guys that get put in the fiery furnace and don't burn up.
Rich, you're on Ron and Fez. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I was just sitting here listening. I'm wondering, what is the problem with all this? I mean, I'm hearing these women have said these kids are well-behaved.
Uh-huh.
They believe in absolutes. They have better education. They have all these pluses and benefits, but yet the tone is, oh my God, they're freaks.
No, I want, and basically blame that on me. This is my own thing. I worry about kids just becoming professional followers. I worry about fascism in this country. I worry about people not wanting to think for themselves. But I really want you to see this film, Jesus Camp, Rich. I'm sure it's going to come to Oklahoma. It's going to roll
there right
out.
now in Oklahoma.
Yeah. All right, so
well, I'm in California right now, but I used to be.
I had Oklahoma written up there. Yeah, thanks.
Well, I'm a truck driver.
You're what, Rich?
I'm a truck driver, but I used to be a youth minister.
Uh-huh.
And, that's, I mean, I understand the fascism and be a follower, but if you really get into what the church or what these people believe in the Bible,
everything is from an individual basis. It's not about being a follower. It's about having an individual relationship that's unique and different.
You know, I don't know if
I don't understand.
I don't think if that were true, then why do you need to bring people together in masses? Why do you have to have large gatherings of people? Why does everybody have to repeat everything at the same time? If it isn't about an individual thing, you don't have to do everything the same time as everyone else. It isn't a thing of, I need everybody in the room now to cry at the same time. I need everybody to sing at the same time.
But think about this. Had there not been a large group of people, religious fundamentalists, who believed strongly in what they believed in, had they not all moved at the same time, we wouldn't have this country today, because it was that reason, it was one of those major reasons was why this country was based, and it was based and began and originated by fundamentalist Christians who were seeking freedom to do what they wanted to do.
And that's correct. And I think that
as extreme as they wanted to be.
All right, hold on.
Well, I just want to just comment on that. A lot of the people we profiled in the film also refer to the Founding Fathers. And, of course, they were very, very religious people. But they did think long and hard and work late hours for a long time to come up with documents that would protect them from religious persecution. And now it turns out protect all the other religions in our society from any sort of hint of a theocracy or of anyone pushing their single religious beliefs on the political life of the country. So I think that that's where people get uncomfortable. No one denies that the Founding Fathers were religious, but they did map out a separation of church and state, and I think a lot of people feel that that's being blurred right now.
And the other thing is this too, Rich, is don't act like this country is completely different from England. It didn't happen the same way, or different from Canada. And then also we killed Indians and changed other people's religions. I mean, we're not, at any point of it, you can't act like anything is an absolute. Right? We agree there.
No, I understand. I just didn't understand why, it's worked for so many years, and now it's just, it seems like today there's such an attitude when it comes towards Christianity and like Muslims and whatnot that we just can't understand.
I'll tell you why.
Somebody having that strong a belief.
Well, you think that the Muslim belief is a little wacky, right?
Oh, I do.
Right. So I mean, it's not like you act like you can't understand other people's fundamental religion. Doesn't seem a little scary to you, or else we wouldn't be acting like in this country, and you hear it all the time. Well, let's just bomb the shit out of all of them. They all scare me. You can understand that you get scared by masses of people who believe in absolutes. The Jesus Camp film has to be seen, though. And again, I don't think it is 100% one way or the other. As a matter of fact, the only other view that you give to this school is another minister who just his only difference is he believes in the different separation of church and state.
He's not a minister.
Oh, he's not.
No, he's not a minister. He's got a radio show.
Okay.
He's a radio DJ.
But is it all focused towards religion, his show, or just...
A lot of it. He does focus on the Christian right a lot. Mm-hmm. He is very uncomfortable with what he feels is a marriage between politics and religion that's happening in this country. And his main problem, actually, besides, I believe he feels like it's a threat to democracy, but I think he also feels like it's a threat to the sustainability of Christianity, and that the reason that politics and religion have been, he feels, should be separate and separated, is that political parties and movements change. They come and go. But Christianity is supposed to be around forever. So if you start letting politicians and political feelings change the faith, that it's dangerous to the religion.
Well, it is interesting to me, too, to see that some politicians so far have taken advantage of this, where they'll act like, my beliefs are your beliefs, and then they don't work for those people at all. Reagan was perfect at that, he'd throw out a Christian thing, but he wasn't a guy who showed up at church.
I am so sick and tired of, Democrats and Republicans, everyone is pandering so hardcore right now to religious people, and I know they're doing it because they feel they have to. They feel that the impression is that you cannot win an election, which is pretty much true, I think, across the board, including Senate and congressional elections, by the the way, especially in, more conservative states, that they cannot win an election unless they have the right-wing part of the evangelical movement behind them. And that perception, I think it is reality at this point. And so you find all these people bringing in their faith and explaining how they go to church and how they pray to God. And you know what? Those beliefs are so personal and private. Faith, I'm sure, is a wonderful thing for most people, but to be talking about it and pandering, wearing on their sleeve all of their religious beliefs, I find it really kind of deceitful in a way, and I don't really buy it.
Transparent.
It's so transparent. I wish they'd stop doing it. Most countries in the West, a leader would never talk about their religious beliefs. That's something personal, but in this country, it's really just become par for the course.
Well, it starts this weekend in New York, Fez?
This weekend, this Friday, it's Jesus Camp, and then opening in select theaters in October.
Ladies, thanks so much for coming in. Terrific film.
Thanks for having us. It's a pleasure.
Spread the word.
Let us know if we can do anything else for you. We'll be right back. Ron and Fez Show.
Ron and Fez. XM 202.
Back on the Ron and Fez Show on a Monday. Heidi Ewan and Rachel Grady were just here about their new film, Jesus Camp. They want us to mention JesusCampTheMovie.com for more information on where that's going to be seen.
I wish I had a doc coming out. I wish I had a book and a doc both coming out today. Earl, here's what's bumming me out about the guests that you're bringing by. Their lives are better than mine.
Yeah, they're having a lot more fun when we are.
I like the two hot chicks and the hot PR girl that were here.
Yeah, definitely nice eye candy.
Yeah. Listen to Earl. The old Earl is back. He starts the book a little bit, and he feels like he's very strong. You're all smiles today, Earl. You got your confidence back.
Yeah, I'm starting to get my swagger back.
Could your brain cloud be dissipating?
I think it's this. I think that the day that he fainted was out of shame. I think that he just felt like he was doing so little that he fainted.
He did try to stick his head in a hole in the ground by just hitting it face first. A Portland woman, she came home and found an intruder that attacked her with a claw hammer in her house. This one, she was able to wrestle the weapon away from him, and as they struggled, she got him in a choke.
All right, let's try to set the bit up. Supposedly, her husband hired a hitman, right, to kill this woman. And she's like 5'7", 5'8", 200 pounds. So she comes home from work. The hitman is there. He starts hitting her with a hammer. I guess he can't drop her. With her bare hands, she chokes him to death. Now, if there's ever a woman that you have to hire a hitman for, it's this fucking woman. She must be the scariest wife in the history of the world. She killed a hitman with her bare hands by choking him to death.
He should have brought in a lot more than a claw hammer.
I would be in front of the jury saying, I rest my case. I married a woman who can kill a hitman with her bare hands. What do you think my life has been like?
So I love the way the story reads, where it says, a large woman, she was eventually able to get the slight intruder into a chokehold, and police later found him dead in a hallway. So she choked him out and left him out in the hall.
And apparently he had a day planner on him, which had the... this is the problem with crime. They're always so stupid. He had the husband's name, how much he was being paid, all in the day planner.
Yeah, when he was supposed to go meet him.
Do you know how strong you have to be to choke a person to death? I mean, it's tough to choke a baby to death.
That BTK killer, he was talking about the first time he killed someone, he was trying to choke the woman out, strangle her, and he goes, my mistake was I didn't realize how much strength it took to choke someone out. He had to go get a gun and shoot that victim. And that's man on woman.
Yeah, it is not an easy game to pull off. This woman did it like there was no problem in the world. Large woman. Choked a killer to death. Choked a fucking hitman to death. And you wonder why her husband felt the need to do this. He must live in terror.
He's saying that he didn't have anything to do with it. That's what he's telling police so far.
I don't know how they got in the day planner. That's the crazy shit. This is what shocks me. What is my name doing in the day planner?
It must be another guy named Mike that wanted his wife knocked off. Terrell Owens broke his finger last night.
T.O., Fezzy. We call him T.O.
So he is going to be out for the next 2 to 4 weeks. He's actually going to have surgery, I guess, on this finger.
This T.O. does not make a move that you're not right there for.
Yeah.
You obsess on him a little.
I do. I check it out because I always wonder, when is he going to implode again? When's the next? What thing can we be watching for? So now 2 to 4 weeks off.
How did he do last night? I missed the game completely.
I don't know the exact stats, but I think he had a pretty good night. He started dropping passes late in the game
because he had a broken finger.
The finger was already broken, and he didn't want to tell anybody. So that was his excuse for why he started dropping passes. Muammar Gaddafi. He is saying that he wants a piece of the profits from every can and bottle of Coca-Cola sold.
Sure, no problem, Muammar.
He says that the essential ingredients for Coca-Cola come from Africa, so they need to start getting paid.
So Muammar sees himself as being an African now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's not an Arab, he's an African.
He's an African because that's where the Coke products are coming from. That's where they get the stuff.
What I'd like to see, Muammar, is black people being able to vote in that country of yours. If you're really so worried about the locals.
Yeah, how about a little basic civil rights first? How about paying those guys who put all this stuff together?
How about stop wearing a dress around the palace?
You know, he just got back in with Western countries, and now all of a sudden a little pushy now that he's back in the club and people are talking to him again. Yeah, I'd like a dime off of every can of Coca-Cola sold. Do not eat bagged spinach. That is the recall going on.
Oh, geez, Fez, I haven't heard about that. Every second of the day. And I swear, now I think back of how often I have spinach. It just makes me sick to my stomach. I feel like a shit eater.
I had a salad over the weekend and didn't even think until the plate was clean. I wonder if that had raw spinach leaves in it. Great, now I've got the E. coli. I can worry about that all weekend.
Yeah, well, the word is out, Fezzy. Everyone knows. It's going to take them years before they can eat spinach again.
Oh, yeah, because they don't know where the tainting process happened.
Well, you know where the taint is, and the E. coli comes very close from there.
We know where it's at. TiVo alert for tonight. CBS is premiering the show The Class, which is supposed to be the new Friends.
All right, let me in on The Class. What happens there?
This is a bunch of third graders.
They're third graders.
Well, they went to they were in third grade together.
All right, let's restart it.
Okay.
What's the situation behind The Class?
Here's a group of 20-somethings.
Oh, and all still in third grade?
Who went to third grade together, and now they've been reunited at a reunion party.
I understand that part. You get back together and it's reunion and there could be a movie there. But how does it become a 7-year TV series? Does the reunion party never end?
I guess once they're reconnected, they stay reconnected. It's not like, oh, thanks, it was good seeing you again after all these years. I'm going to go back to the life I was already living. Now I guess they're just all back together and hooked up again.
There's good buzz on this class, though, right?
Yeah, it's from the creators of Friends.
Mm-hmm. What else is debuting tonight? I like the new TV season. I'm going to attempt to not watch any of the vote-off shows. I'm just bored with vote-offs. Earl asked me, would we please have on the voted-off Survivor member every week, and I didn't want to get involved in it. Did you take that hard, Earl?
Yeah, I took it a little bit hard because, it's racist Survivor, so you can...
But I mean the vote-off thing. I know that you had that booking, and it seemed good, but it just seems... I don't know. It just seems like yesterday's news. Who cares who's forming alliances and voting people out? What other new shows are starting that I can watch?
Also, tonight is Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip.
No, I did watch the premiere episode of that, Fez. I watched it online. America Online had it. I sat there at my desk. I watched the TV show. I got to say, I thought it was pretty good. I would recommend it tonight if you want to check it out. Now, do I think it could be a series? I don't know. That's tough. But for a premiere episode, I liked it, and I will watch the second one.
Yeah, the premiere tonight is on for an hour and a half, I think. It comes on at 10 in the East on NBC.
Yeah.
So an extra long premiere. Deal or No Deal is back tonight for 2 hours.
I don't really care how much money that anybody else wins. Doesn't matter that much to me.
And it's also the season premiere of CSI Miami, where they're headed to Brazil for the season opener.
See, I don't consider that a premiere when it's a show that's been around. To me, a premiere, first episode ever.
I watched I clicked back and forth last night between the football game and the season premiere of The Amazing Race.
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically like Racist Survivor. Last night was a double elimination. The Muslim team got eliminated, and so did the Hindu couple.
I see that show as being more like Wacky Races than anything else. Or its extended version, Stop That Pigeon.
It really is. It's that show. I bailed on the last season. I tried to come back.
What turned you off when the midget got voted out?
I like the midget.
Everyone always seemed to.
It was the family season 2 seasons ago, which made me say I don't want to watch it anymore. It was so watered down when they had the kids on it and stuff.
So you didn't even go and like it the next year.
Right. I took a season off. Thought I could get back into it. Then last night I'm watching. They've got an amputee on the show. They're on one of the teams. So now it's always the same gimmicks. The only thing they don't have that they always have this season is a very elderly couple that somehow gets hurt on the race and always gets eliminated when you can see it coming a mile away.
And don't they always say good things to them, like, hey, you lasted longer than anyone ever thought you could. You showed that you're hardcore. Earl, I heard that Supernova got their new name. Is that right?
I don't know what the exact name is, but I heard they had to change their name.
Fez, have you came up with a new name yet? I heard that they were announcing it.
No, I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah, it was online somewhere. Have the kids look that one up, Dave. I want to find out what Supernova is now called. I hope they go with another super band name. I want super in there.
They'll probably go with Superman, and then just have to end up, not being able to use that either because of the copyright. Senator George Allen, he's been in hot water for using a racial slur on the campaign trail.
Now, isn't George Allen the guy that used to coach the Redskins?
That was his dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, then we ought to throw Gatorade on the guy and kill him.
So he called someone at a campaign stop a macaw, a macaca, or something like that.
No idea.
And apparently this is some sort of Eastern racial slur.
How would it come up?
He said that he just made up the word himself. He's saying he didn't even know that word is an Eastern racial slur.
Why would he make up words by himself? No one does that.
And
other than for children's penises, I see no reason to make up a word.
Here's how he used it.
Yeah.
See if we can get that clip. Here's what he said when he used it.
This fella here over here with the yellow shirt, Macaca, or whatever his name is, he's with my opponent. And let's give a welcome to Macaca here. Welcome to America and the real world of Virginia.
Now, why would you make up someone's name?
So I guess this guy was disagreeing with him at wherever the stop was, and I guess Alan was going to try to call him out on this and ended up calling him Macaca.
Which means what, Fez?
I think it means...
Black bastard.
Basically, yeah. I think that's what it means. Someone of, a less than desirable descent.
Bill, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
29,875.
Hoo-ah! There's a hoo-ah for you.
Thank you. Hey, Ron, doing your producer's work, the new name of Rockstar Supernova's band is Rockstar Supernova.
That's what they're calling themselves?
That's the new name, Rockstar Supernova.
So they keep the name Rockstar in it, Dave? That's what keeps them being able to say it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they have to call, and they can't say, we're Supernova. They have to say, ladies and gentlemen, we're Rockstar Supernova.
Rockstar Supernova, yeah. Just like Velvet Revolver, took that Velvet part from Velvet Underground.
Yeah, okay. The guy goes into a big-ass prize closet. Way to go, Bill.
Hold on, Bill. You'll get a DVD copy of the Pixies Acoustic live in Newport, courtesy of Eagle Rock Entertainment. The Pixies Acoustic, that is in stores now.
If I was starting a band right now, I'd call it the Beatles. Or the new improved Beatles. I think people would love it.
The only way you get away with it, Rockstar Beatles.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
The Gridiron Gang, that was the #1 movie at the box office over the weekend.
Now, can't they be sued by the Gumshoe Gang?
They really should be. $15 million, so a slow box office, but it brought The Rock a #1 movie.
Yeah, for a movie like that to make $15 million, and no, it probably didn't cost a lot, so not a bad deal for The Rock. I saw. Did you go see it, Fez?
I didn't see it.
I saw the previews, and I felt like I'd already seen the film a million times, so I didn't go rushing out to see it.
I definitely want to see it. I may wait for the DVD now. Get through real football season, and when I'm having that hangover of I wish football was still on, throw in the Gridiron Gang, because I'm sure it'll be out on DVD by then.
I would think that the season couldn't get over fast enough for you this year, Fez, considering what you have to look forward to.
It's usually in the blink of an eye, football season is over. This one will drag.
You lost your position 2 weeks in of giving Lock of the Week. That's been given over to the Horseshoe, the Four-Leaf Clover, the luckiest man alive, Lucky Boy, who picks winners like there's no tomorrow. Lucky Boy, Friday, you'll be doing your Lock of the Week.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. This is my big shot, Mr. B.
No, thank you. Thank you for giving me that Giants money over the weekend.
You're welcome for that.
This kid, Fez, there's something about him.
Yeah, I wouldn't take too much faith in his picks. We'll see what happens. It's not as easy as it looks to pick football winners.
What he has, something he has that you don't have, Fez.
What's that?
Ability. He has abilities.
Well, maybe he'll want to take over for me on Sports Nation, too, on XM Channel 143.
What are you doing there?
Well, I call him the TJ Reeves Show. They call me...
As a caller?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Fez from NYC.
His producer rings my phone at 7:45 for me to go on the air with TJ Reeves.
I didn't even know you were doing this. Is it an every week thing?
Yeah, it's supposed to be every Monday. But it was so awkward today. I'm going to see if Wiki can get me out of it.
All right, let me call in if you heard Fez on this, 866-RON-0-FEZ. Are you doing sports picks?
No, it's not picks. It's just kind of a look back at the weekend. And
the week that was?
Exactly.
Do you have your own theme music?
No, I don't have my theme music. TJ just introduces me. So what I was told was, you can call in and talk about the Bucks. And I'm like, well, that's cool. I'll vent about the Bucks. They're 0-2. They haven't scored a touchdown yet. And then it was really awkward this morning where TJ kept saying, and what else? And what else? And then at one point...
Hold on. This can't go as bad as what you're saying.
I think it did. I think it went awful.
No host would say, what else? What else?
And I want to make a public apology now, because I think it did go that bad. And then he even said, do you have any other material?
Oh, boy. And you know what? You act like I'm a bad co-host with you. You act like I'm the worst person alive.
So it was just really awkward, and I was on for about 10 minutes, I think, 10 minutes, and I hung up just thinking, Wow, that was really awful on the Sports Nation.
Do they replay that at all? I'd love to get a copy of you tubing on the Sports Nation. When did this start, Fez?
Actually, I had done, when they were getting ready to launch Sports Nation, I had done a mock show with them where I called in and did it.
You getting a little extra do-re-mi, little green stuff coming your way?
And then today was the first day I had done it live on the air with them.
Oh, so first day ever. And
first day of school.
Then don't be so rough on yourself.
I just think it was just awkward and awful and horrible. And I thought I was just going to talk about the Bucks, so when TJ kept saying, what else? I would take it back to the Bucks.
Oh, jeez, enough of the Bucks talk. You're talking about the worst team in football, and it's a national show.
I mean, I talked a little bit about Notre Dame at the Notre Dame-Michigan game.
Rather than you being a sports expert, you're just talking about the two things that you like.
Things that I like. I mean, I should have brought up that I went to Comic-Con over the weekend. If I was just going to sit there and talk about my life.
Oh, yeah, my brother has to get another knee operation. That's bad.
His kneecap is 2 inches off center.
What's that mean? Show me in terms of it was your knee. So they had to put his kneecap back on?
Yeah, he dislocated his kneecap when he went running down the street.
Yeah, let's set this one up. Fez's brother, big guy, big thick guy, back in 2002, was it?
Well, it's 2002 season, January 2003.
Okay. The Bucks are on their way to the Super Bowl. They win the NFC Championship. His brother, who hasn't run since he was a small boy, gets so excited that they win the NFC Championship that he grabs a Bucks flag and starts to run down the street with it.
In his neighborhood, he goes running out the door. They're going to the Super Bowl. His kneecap spontaneously dislocates. He has to get that popped back in. And I guess the way the cartilage has grown back, it's grown back in a way where the kneecap is 2 inches off the center where it should be. I think it swings a little to his right. So now they got to go in there. They're going to try to scope it, and the doctor says, no, I'm actually going to have to cut in there.
All because he got excited and thought, I know, I'll run down the street with a fucking flag.
Yeah, so I go, well, at least now you'll have that scar, and you can tell people might think you played at some point in your life.
Oh, God, I wouldn't wear shorts if I was with him. Those tree trunk legs.
So now, him and my thick-legged mother, who had knee replacement surgery, they'll have matching scars for themselves.
There are a lot of thick legs in that Watley family.
Very thin ankles. The rest of the legs, gigantic.
Thin ankles? That doesn't help.
No. It's no wonder we're constantly getting scoped or whatever. And joints replaced.
So you don't want to give this an extra week?
I just felt so uncomfortable, and I thought it was a really bad performance this morning.
But that's how you are on this show. You're uncomfortable and bad performance, and yet you stay.
Yeah, I should concentrate on this job, this show.
All right, the two young ladies that were in here, what were their names, Fez?
That was Heidi Ewing and Rachel Grady.
I walked them out, and I was saying thanks for coming in, and they said to me, your partner makes me so uncomfortable. They said that you just have an open-mouthed stare, and that you were just staring at both of them with an open mouth.
I don't remember that. If I did, I apologize again. It's a day of apologies.
Here's Matt. Matt, you're on Ron and Fez.
Yeah, I was calling about the curse of Grammatica and Tampa Bay and Fez's brother blowing out their knees celebrating.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
The same thing happened to Grammatica. He was so happy he ruined his career.
Our family is Automatica. We automatically have to have joint replacement surgery at some point.
Where's Grammatica now? Indianapolis?
He just got cut again. He went to New England and got cut, I think, right before the season started.
Well, I saw him in a game last week, though.
You did?
Yeah, I think I did. Earl, you know where Grammatica is playing?
No, I don't know where either Bill or Martine. Is that?
Yeah.
Martine is all I care about. I don't care about the Phoenix brother. He means nothing to me. Matt, you're on Ron and Fez.
Yeah, I want to know if Fez is going to call in the 80s channel later on to talk about REM.
Why don't you do that, Fez? You start and do a music break every week, but it's just the REM and Petty. That's all you'll talk about.
Thank you. Well, Bill Burry got back with the band today.
Crazy, huh? Did not like that Monsters CD. Little too grungy or whatever. Matt, you're on Ron and Fez.
Yeah, guys?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I listened to that Sports Nation interview this morning, and I thought that they totally put Fez out to dry. Guy didn't support him, didn't work with him at all. I think it just shows, Ron, what you bring to the show.
Thank you.
The way you support Fez's lines and Fez's work. But you've got to get that tape if possible, because the guy was just basically like...
You know what I should do? I feel like I should play that tape for Fez every time he thinks I'm busting his balls.
No, I don't want to hear that tape ever again.
Because then I'll go, well, what about sports broadcaster TJ Reeves? Let's see if he does any better. Trying to fucking make sense out of you. And I want to say this. I cannot blame Sports Nation. I cannot blame TJ Reeves.
Why?
Without even hearing this, I know you showed up ill-prepared.
I was prepared for what I thought I was going to talk about.
Why would anyone call just for 8 minutes to only talk about one team that hasn't scored a touchdown yet?
It's awful. At one point, we ended up talking about Shelley Winters and the Poseidon Adventure.
Oh, my God.
It went that far off track.
Do me a favor, Earl. Get me a copy of this for the Broadcasting Museum for Worst Break Ever.
Earl, do me a favor. Shoot the satellite out of space so that no one ever hears it again.
No, we can't do that.
Shoot it!
Earl, do not be fucking caught up in an arms war. I don't want you there. I need to hear this, though. Sounds just fantastic.
It's awful.
Jim, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Ron. Hey, Fez.
Yeah.
Hey, I heard it as well, and yeah, Fezzy had some odd comments about Notre Dame and the Pope and Charlie Weiss, and what Charlie Weiss.
What were you saying?
I said the Notre Dame game is what the Pope should be apologizing for, not the comments about the Muslims.
Oh, my God. That's just even laying here.
And then TJ went into this thing where maybe the Pope could coach Notre Dame and Charlie Weiss could run the Vatican, and kind of got lost from there.
From there, you brought it up. Let's not bring TJ, who's had a long and storied career, who's done nothing but fine work over the years. No, you're going back there on Monday, mister.
I am not.
And this time you're going to prep for it?
I hate school, and I'm not going back.
I don't understand it. We needed you to pull that off. We needed you to be the man.
Well, it didn't happen.
Hey, Steve, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Yeah.
Hey, I think Fez did a good job today, and he needs to go back. So we need to. It's a mandatory back.
Steve, you were listening?
Yes, I was.
Was Fez ill-prepared?
I think he was just a little nervous his first time.
What were you nervous about, Fez? The fact you know nothing about sports?
I wasn't nervous about that.
When you are doing a segment, right?
Right.
You have to bring some expertise to that segment.
Well, I watched the Bucks over the past 2 weeks. I thought I was prepared.
And you're here for a weekly position, right?
Right.
And your weekly position was just going to be on the Bucks to ignore the rest of the league?
I was told you could talk about whatever you want, and I said, well, I'll talk about the Bucks.
Here's what you should do. Call Rachel Ray. She has a new cooking show. You go on there. Every Monday, you make a turkey club. No matter what happens, you come back and make yet another turkey club.
I watched Rachel Ray's debut this morning. Or at least the first part of it. A little all over the road.
Oh, you're going to put her down after the abortion train that you were fucking engineering today.
I was not on a train of abortions.
It's an abortion clinic that can't even stay in one town. They have to put it on the rails and keep moving it. Josh, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, buddies.
Yeah.
I listened to the radio show this morning as well. And when asked, Fez's comments on Notre Dame was that the head coach looked like a football without the stitching down the center. I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, my God. This sounds awful.
That was not my fault. TJ said to me, hey, it looks like Charlie Weiss has put on weight. And so all I said was, if he had laces down his shirt, he would look like the ball.
Is this Is this Sports Nation or Fashion Police? Which one is it?
A little of both this morning.
Listen.
What?
That's the abortion train. It's leaving town. You're doing that show next Monday.
I am not doing it.
You're doing the show. And this time you're going to prepare.
It was awful.
You're going to be informative. You're going to be witty, and everybody's going to like you.
They'll all hate me.
They should. They should hate you for not trying today. You've turned into Paulo. You're a guy who's talking about sports but never saw them.
Well, that's just cruel.
We got to take a break. Yeah, to Paulo. We'll be right back and finish the show up, Ron and Fez.
Ron Bennington, Fez Watley, The Ron and Fez Show. XM 202.
One of the strange inconveniences of being a member of a society is the requirement that one join things. Boy Scouts, the workforce, conversations. You have to get an email, a website, a mic account. You start dissolving like an Alka-Seltzer. If you don't join things, the strange result is that you get excluded. An awful symptom of exclusion is that you get into me. MySpace at space.com/Ron and Fez Show.
Ron and Fez. XM 202.
What a day we've had here, Fez. Right now, coming into the studio, probably the highest paid screenwriter of all time.
Joe Esterhaus is coming in studio with us. He's written things, of course, like Basic Instinct, The Jagged Edge, Flashdance, Showgirls. He's got a new book out called The Devil's Guide to Hollywood. Joe Esterhaus is with us.
Joe, nice to see you, sir.
Hi, guys. Nice to be here. Thank you.
This book, talk about a bridge burner, huh, Joe? Is there anybody in Hollywood over the last even 100 years you haven't taken down in this way?
I haven't. I don't view it that way. You know, I mean, I view it as this mild little book on screenwriting and what's happened to screenwriters through the years, with some anecdotes. Now, how am I going to give lessons about screenwriting without using anecdotal material? You know, that's impossible. And I wanted to write an anti-textbook because I think most textbooks are boring as piss, right?
Right.
This isn't. This is a textbook that will make you laugh and smile, and that you will actually enjoy. And maybe the only textbook that I've read that will actually make you laugh and smile and enjoy.
Now, when you say textbook, you don't really, you don't put a lot in for some of the people who teach how to screenwrite. You don't go for that so much.
I do a couple chapters. I think there are some things that are really useful. In terms of creating characters and how to build them and what to do and conflict and all of the usual things that screenwriting books tell you. But, you know, I go a little bit past that with things. You know, for example, I tell them that if they get the movie made, they should steal all the memorabilia that they can from the set before the actors do. It's a relevant part of movie making.
Yeah.
Also, too much masturbation isn't good. You know, some survey found that writers do more masturbating than anybody else, and that's not good. Cus D'Amato had a theory with Mike Tyson that I really believe in, saying, you know, Tuesday night before a fight, you know, so as you're writing, ease up on it. Put more of the energy into the material itself.
Now, we were talking about this. Not only have you written some of the most famous movies ever, but unlike a lot of people, you made sure you got paid for it. You made sure that you got some high prices.
Well, you know what I did? The most screenwriters go in and they make a deal for an idea. They sit down and say that, you know, I'm going to write this, and how much will you give me? What I've done is I've just sat down and written it, the whole thing, and then I roll the dice and see if somebody wants it. Now, if the whole thing is done and everybody can read it, they can all bid on it if they like it or not.
Right.
I've had scripts like Basic that everybody bid on, but I've also had scripts that nobody bid on that nobody bought. It's a risk, but if it pays off, then it's going to pay off with some really big numbers.
How many scripts have you been able to sell in 1 year? It seems like your name would pop up at a pretty quick pace in some of these things.
In 1993 or 4, when I was getting divorced from my first wife, and the lawyers were after me, and they wanted all the money that I'd ever made. They wanted to take my house and my cars. I sat down and wrote like 4 scripts that year just to have a life. And I did, and I sold most of them, and I did have a life, but that's the most I've ever written because there were serious wolves at the door and people with guns in my head, and I just had to do what I do with a typewriter.
That's the motivation, right?
That was it. The basic primal human motivation. That's I wanted to have a life with the woman that I loved.
Screenwriter Joe Esterhaus is in studio. His new book is called The Devil's Guide to Hollywood, and Joe's going to be doing a signing of his new book tonight at the Borders in Columbus Circle in New York City. That starts at 7 p.m. His book, it will be available nationwide tomorrow.
We had the producer, Christine Vachon, in here today, and I asked her, I go, why is it the director is that one single voice of a film? That in this country, we've kind of made it about the director, where you wouldn't even have a film without the script, right? I mean,
it's crazy what's happened. It all began in France with guys who wrote and directed things became the total auteurs, so that a movie was by Francois Truffaut or Jean-Luc Godard, right?
Right.
By, period. Then what happened is that the same thing was done in this country with guys who didn't write and direct it, they just directed it. So you had some really crazy things begin happening, because the people beginning directors on their first movie suddenly had a by credit and no one had ever heard of them. And what it did was totally diminish the screenwriter's work unfairly, and it really reduced the screenwriter. I'm not surprised that a hot contemporary producer would feel that way about the director, because the farm has essentially been given away, and directors are viewed as being in a position where a movie is completely their own.
Now, have you had to fight it out for some of the stuff that you believed in, or?
Oh, man, I've been in one fight after another in the course of 30 years and 15 movies. It's always about the material. If I feel that something comes from my heart and gut, and I've sat down to write it, and suddenly somebody comes along and says, this isn't your vision, but Costa Gavras' vision, I get very, very pissed off. Costa's a terrific friend of mine, but I'll tell you a story that he told me. Costa was, of course, one of the world's best directors. He did Z and Missing. He was at a seminar, and they asked him about the movie we'd done together called Music Box. And they kept saying to him, why do your characters do things that way? And Costa kept saying, because Joe wrote them that way. And the question came back again, and finally Costa decided, they just don't want to hear about Joe.
Right.
They want me to tell them as the director why I did things a certain way. Look, I think that's one of the most terrible things that's happened in the past 30 years is the increasing importance of the auteur theory and what it's done to diminish screenwriters.
Now, even when you're writing an action film, I could see that getting away from the screenwriter a little bit because, from a visual point of view, the director might have a little more, more strength there of what the camera can and can't do. But with dialogue, why do you think they would buy a film of yours, or has this ever happened to you, and by the time you see it, it looks like nothing like the film that they paid all the money for?
It has happened to me. It happened to me on a little movie that I did that I entitled Pals. And something like 7 years after I wrote it, it was about a relationship between a woman and her 2 little kids and a con who just busted out. Jean-Claude Van Damme somehow got a hold of the script. Jean-Claude, to be fair to him, didn't want to change it. He wanted to prove that he could act and do a relationship piece. The studio didn't want to take a chance on Jean-Claude doing something like that. They wanted to do an action piece. And they turned it inside out to the point where when it came out as a movie called Nowhere to Run, I had to insist, probably for the first time in the history of the Writers Guild, that other people share the screen credit with me, because I didn't want
it. Normally you have to fight for that credit all the time,
right? Just for your own. You rarely ever have to fight saying I don't want it, but it was a real fight.
The other thing that I always notice with a lot of the big films is when they do a sequel, it never seems to me that they bring back the original screenplay. It's happened with you, Shane Black, and it seems like, oh, now I know what to do. We have Die Hard already written. Let's put it on a boat. Then everybody suddenly gets ideas, right?
Well, they asked me to do the sequel to Basic, and I didn't do it for 2 reasons. One, I didn't envision that story going on. When I saw it ended with the pig under the bed.
Right.
And what they ask you to do is to take a piece of rope and extend it and make it into a rubber band. And I'm not very good at that. The other reason The human reason is that by contract, whether I wrote it or not, I was going to make a lot of money on the sequel anyway.
Right.
So why do the work?
Yeah.
Sure.
So you're going to make the cash. It doesn't matter to you.
Why do the work?
Joe Esterhaus is in studio with us. He's got a new book out called The Devil's Guide to Hollywood that's going to be available everywhere starting tomorrow. And he's going to be at the Borders tonight in New York City at Columbus Circle for a signing starting at 7 o'clock.
Do you ever think of putting out a lot of your scripts as books? Does that happen often, or does that now belong to the movie studio once it's written?
It belongs to the studio, although, just coming here, I saw something really interesting on 53rd Street today. There's a big table. Some guy's out there selling scripts.
Right.
So there's obviously a market for it with people buying it. Otherwise, the table wouldn't be as big and all those scripts there.
Yeah.
But the problem is that the studio owns it. You have to go through the studio and get permissions. And those business affairs guys at studios aren't a real pleasure to deal with on a normal day.
Well, I think a lot of those scripts that you've seen sold to are downloaded off because some people read them online. But the problem is, we get normally to read the script that's already been shot.
Right.
I think with a lot of these films, it would be interesting to read what the writer put out there because it would be so different in some cases.
I've said for a long time that the only way that a film critic can make a real, honest, true evaluation of what's writer and what's director or who screwed it up or who made it better is to read the first draft of the screenplay and see the movie.
Will you go and read those reviews, and will they piss you off or make you happy? I mean,
sure, they of course. You read them and they piss you off, but you can't take them seriously whether they're terrific or whether they're ugly. You go on and you do what you do. My father, I'm Hungarian born, and I came here to this country as an immigrant. My dad always would say to me that I come from real great peasant roots with my feet pretty firmly on the ground. I think that's pretty true.
Right.
So you don't take either one seriously.
And you've had that reputation of being a guy, kind of a street guy. It seems like you never kissed a lot of ass out there in Hollywood either.
I grew up in a neighborhood where that wasn't done,
right.
On the west side of Cleveland and 41st and Lorraine. It doesn't come genetically easily to me to kiss that particular part of the anatomy, unless it's really gorgeous feminine one. And occasionally I'll do that. But in a normal course of day-to-day life, certainly in Hollywood, the posteriors aren't nice enough to kiss.
What do you look over as you look back on this part of your career now? Do you have a film that you're most proudest of, or said, this is the way I wrote it, this is what I was thinking the whole time?
There's a cliche about it. Whenever you ask somebody who's does a movie, they always say their most recent one, right?
Right.
I've got a movie coming out on the 23rd of October, premiering in Budapest, Hungary. When it comes to this country in the early part of next year, and it will be distributed here, and it will also go to the film festivals, called Children of Glory. And the reason that I love it so much is because it's about the Hungarian Revolution of 1956, where Hungarians with sticks and stones and bottles went up against the Russian tanks, and they freed the country for a period of 10 days. Then the Russians came back in and decimated everything. But it's a great historical event, and it was in my life as a kid growing up. So I wrote a movie about this that they just made. Andy Vajna, who produced the Terminator movies and who also did Music Box when he produced it. I saw it 2-3 weeks ago, and it's really terrific. It's a big historical epic, and it's a terrific movie. But other movies, I love Basic. I really do. I think it was beautifully done. Telling Lies in America is one of my favorites. I like Music Box very much. I've been really lucky as a screenwriter. There aren't many where I go, oh my God, that's terrible. Nowhere to Run is one of them. But looking at the whole Jade didn't work very well for me, neither did Sliver. But looking at the 15 movies, there really aren't that many that I loathe.
I guess you got to feel pretty good about that over the years,
I do.
right?
Yeah. One of the reasons I wrote the book is because I wanted to show every screenwriter book tells about all these horror stories where screenwriters get screwed over somehow.
Yeah.
Right? And I wanted to write a book where I could say, no, that doesn't have to happen. You can win your battles if you know what you're doing, if you know when to negotiate and when to fight, and there are a lot of tricks that can be learned here. You can win those battles, but it's very much of a street turf, and you're facing guys who can get real ugly if you go up against them, and you really have to fight if you want to win the battle. A lot of writers don't feel like putting that kind of effort into it. And to tell you the truth, I got really tired after 15 pictures and 30 years of one fight after another. You get tired. That's when I started writing books.
And, even some of the, most famous writers of our times, William Faulkner and Heming, everybody that would be a big novelist would do a short stint in Hollywood and just find out that all the respect that they thought that they deserved, or they probably did deserve, over the course of their life, thrown out the moment they get to Hollywood.
But you know what happened is that these guys went in with the attitude of saying, the screenplay doesn't matter, I'm just doing it for the money, I'm not going to put my heart and soul and gut into it, I'm going to reserve that for the books, and the screenplay is just for the cash. One of my arguments is, if you write something, whether it's a screenplay in whatever form, and if you create it out of your own heart and gut and soul, then fight for it as much as if it were a book. Don't just go in and saying, I'm just doing this for the bucks, because then you're hooking. And that's really what hooking is all about.
Yeah.
And I know this is going to sound outrageous, but if you look at those very famous writers, members of the Algonquin group, Benchley, Dorothy Parker,
Perlman, all around like
Perlman, Nathaniel West, Faulkner. Hemingway didn't really write scripts, but Faulkner. What those guys really did was hooked in terms of screenplays.
So they just, only after they felt like, I've worked too hard on my books, now I'm going to cash in a little bit.
When they needed money, they went to Hollywood. Faulkner worked in Hollywood. Most people don't know. Faulkner worked in Hollywood for almost 25 years. He had an entirely separate life. He had a mistress, he had a whole different life. He always had a total disregard for it. When he had some horses out there, and one of them was going to foal, and he took the horse and drove it back to Mississippi. He said, "This horse ain't foaling in Hollywood."
It's a pleasure to have you in here, and most people probably know you. The infamous story about when you took on CAA when they were really at their biggest. Any repercussions for that?
Well, at the time, my people never felt that there was going to be stuff then. On the very next script that we took out, which was about a year after my issue with Michael Ovitz and CAA, a script called Original Sin, they did anything and everything to try to stop that sale. That was going to be payback time. But you know what? With an awful lot of push and with some agents who were very pissed off because they knew what was going on, we managed to sell it anyway. Past that, they really were not.
And then I guess that even eventually worked back to your credit, where people, it kind of make you a folk hero, and people, that were afraid of CA, wanted to be on your team, I guess.
You know what happened is that when it happened, he denied, having said those things to me. In a book published something like 8 years afterwards, he finally admitted it. And he said, yes, I did say those things to him, but I was joking. Well, I didn't think it was very funny, damn it. I really didn't.
I'm going to ruin you. That was a cute one. Joe Esterhaus, thanks so much for being in here.
Thank you.
It's a real
was fun.
pleasure.
I enjoyed it.
Tonight, Fez, you can go out and meet Joe Esterhaus.
That's going to be at the Borders, 10 Columbus Circle in New York City, starting at 7 o'clock. Joe will be there to sign his new book, The Devil's Guide to Hollywood, which is going to be available nationwide starting tomorrow. If you need more information with anything going on with Joe Esterhaus, it's joeesterhaus.com.
Can I say one other thing? The title of that book fully is The Devil's Guide to Hollywood. The screenwriter is God.
Is that
as God?
Nice.
And I really love that, considering how screenwriters all through the years have been reduced to second-class citizens. In this book, the screenwriter is God.
Have you heard from other screenwriters saying about time?
I've heard a lot of that sentiment through the years because I've been very public about what I think screenwriters should do. And I've gotten a lot of support from screenwriters who say, thank you, finally somebody believes in going to the wall.
Is the Writers Guild much help when it comes to that? Or?
No, the Writers Guild historically has not gotten involved in creative stuff at all. They're terrific when it comes to things like health insurance and pension plans and all of that stuff, but really terrific. But when you're talking about getting involved and, you know, really going after writers' rights. No, I suggested them some years back that the next time the LA Times, the New York Times runs an article and they refer to a film as a film by Marty Scorsese, let's say, even though Paul Schrader may have written it, that the Writers Guild organize a picket line and go in front of the newspapers. But for whatever reason, they didn't like that idea.
They're not going to deal with it. But it is funny that most of the time when you see a great Scorsese film, the script was there. Paul Schrader had done terrific work for him.
Look at Paul Schrader's body of work. You know, that was a screenplay that came out of his own vision. It was beautifully directed. I'm not taking anything away from the man as a director, but it didn't come from, the vision didn't come from there.
Has anyone ever, you being the expert of this, a great director was able to turn something good out of a shit script? Has there ever been that case where you went, wow?
The conventional wisdom is that a good director can take a good script and ruin it. That a great director can take a good script and ruin it. But that the greatest director in the world can't take a bad script and make it into a good movie.
What about with the actors? How do you get along with most of them?
In different ways, you know. Sometimes you have to understand that all of the artistic convolutions that the actors are going through come with their baggage, and you want to say, just say the fucking words.
Right.
Okay, that's all. Just say the words. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what Spencer Tracy did. That's what Bogart did. We don't have to go through all this Hazarai and pain. Just say the words.
It's got to be funny, too, that you're such a much bigger guy than most action film stars. You walk out onto the set and probably have lived the kind of life that they're acting like they've lived.
Well, Sly and I had a fight on Fist, and then there was a bad fight. We disagreed, and many years later, we made it up and became friends. But whenever I saw him, I would always say, "Hey, you got your uppers on today, man."
He's a tiny little thing.
He does have a good sense of humor.
And he's got the new Rocky film coming out.
Yes, he does. I hope it does. I hope it does well. I'd like to see him do well.
Went back to that well one more time. Joe Esterhaus, get the opportunity to go out and see him tonight.
That is going to be at Borders, 10 Columbus Circle, starting at 7 o'clock, where Joe's going to be signing his new book, The Devil's Guide to Hollywood. The screenwriter is God.
Thank you.
There you go.
Screenwriter is God, Fez.
Thank you.
Don't forget that one. Thanks so much for coming in, Joe.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Joe. And that book is available nationwide tomorrow. And, of course, you can also check out everything online at joeesterhaus.com. And, of course, be looking next year for his latest film, Children of Glory, or next month if you're in Budapest. So you can check that out. Thanks a lot, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, buddy.
Thank you.
Satellites gone up to the skies. Things like that drive me out of my mind. I watched it for a little while. I like to watch things on TV. Satellite of love. Satellite of love. Satellite of love. Satellite of. Satellite's gone way up to Mars. Soon it'll be filled with parking cars. I watched it for a little while. I love to watch things on TV. Satellite of love. Satellite of love. Satellite of love. Satellite of.
That's the end of my show.
You've been bold with Harry, Mark, and John. Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday to Thursday with Harry, Mark, and John. Satellites gone up to the skies. Things like that drive me out of my mind. I watched it for a little while. I love to watch things on TV. Satellite of love. Satellite of love. Satellite of love. Satellite of
Ron Bennington, Fez Whatley, The Ron and Fez Show. XM 202.